Abyssal ascendancy, the sun dipped below the horizon as the last vestige of humanity gathered at the ancient Academy of Transformation. The stone walls loomed over them like a fortress, a beacon of hope amidst the chaos that had engulfed the world. Elias stood amongst the crowd, his mind a whirlwind of confusion and fear as he took in the sight before him. He was once a scholar, but now found himself transformed into something different. His new form was not that of a man, but rather a massive beetle, its carapace hardened to withstand the onslaught of undead monstrosities that roamed the land. He looked around, searching for familiar faces amidst the sea of strangers. One such face caught his eye, Zara, a fierce warrior whose eyes seemed to glow with an inner fire. She spotted him and walked over, her steps heavy with purpose. Elias, she greeted, her voice a low growl that belied her small stature. "I've been looking for you." He looked at her in surprise. "Zara, I thought you were dead." She gave a short laugh. "Hardly. You should know better than anyone that death is not the end here." Elias felt a twinge of unease, but he shook it off. "What brings you to the academy?" Zara's eyes narrowed. "I heard rumors about what happened to you. I came to see if they were true." Before Elias could respond, Commander Cal stepped into view, flanked by her personal guard. She approached them with a smirk on her face. "Ah, the former scholar and the warrior," she said, her voice dripping with malice. "I've heard much about both of you." Zara tensed, her muscles rippling beneath her armored hide. Elias felt his own heart race as he stared at Cal, his memories of her past cruelties flooding back. Cal's gaze turned to him, and he felt a sudden, chilling sensation wash over him. "You," she said, her voice low and menacing. "I have been looking for you." Elias took a step backwards, his newfound powers stirring within him. He knew that he could not afford to let Cal take control of them. But what could one man do against the power of an entire military force? As they stared each other down, Scylla stepped into view. She was a woman shrouded in mystery, her true nature unknown even to Elias. Her eyes seemed to hold a wisdom beyond her years, and he found himself drawn to her. "Enough," she said, her voice calm but firm. "We have much to discuss, and little time." Kel's face twisted in anger, but she held back, sensing that Scylla was not one to be trifled with. The tension between the three of them hung heavy in the air as they retreated to a secluded area of the academy. As Elias followed Zara and Scylla, he couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. What secrets did these two hold, and what role would they play in his new life? And most importantly, how could he harness his new powers to save humanity from the undead horde that threatened their very existence? Days passed as students and faculty at the academy adjusted to their new existence. Elias spent countless hours in meditation, struggling to control his powers that threatened to consume him. His transformation had left him vulnerable to the undead horde's attacks, and he feared for his life each day. One morning, Zara approached him with a grim expression on her face. "Elias," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, "I have news. Cal has taken an interest in you." "What do you mean?" Elias asked, his heart racing at the thought of facing Commander Cal again. Zara sighed and glanced around before leaning closer. "She's been asking questions about your powers, trying to find out what they can do. She seems determined to use them for her own gain." Elias frowned, his anxiety growing by the moment. "Why would she want my powers? They're barely under control as it is." Zara shrugged. "It's hard to say. But I think we need to be careful. If Cal gets what she wants, who knows what could happen." Elias nodded, his resolve strengthening. He knew he couldn't let Commander Cal take control of his powers. He had to find a way to harness them before it was too late. As days turned into weeks, Elias spent every moment honing his abilities. His transformation continued to evolve in ways he could not have imagined, and he felt the strain of controlling his new form growing ever stronger. It was exhausting and frightening, but he knew that if he didn't master his powers soon, the undead horde would be the least of humanity's worries. One night, as Elias sat in meditation, a strange presence entered his mind. He felt an overwhelming wave of energy, unlike anything he had ever experienced before. It was Scylla, who revealed herself as an enigmatic figure with immense knowledge of the apocalypse and the Academy's hidden curriculum. "Elias," she said, her voice calm yet powerful, "I have been watching you. I know what you are going through." Elias was taken aback by her sudden appearance, but managed to maintain his composure. "Who are you?" he asked. Scylla smiled enigmatically. "My name is Scylla. I am here to help you, Elias. You see, there is more at stake than just your powers. The fate of humanity rests on your shoulders." Elias felt a shiver run down his spine as he realized the implications of her words. He had always known that his transformation was significant, but he never imagined it could be so crucial to the survival of humanity itself. "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Xyla's expression grew serious. I want you to trust in yourself and your abilities. The undead horde is just one part of this battle. You must become more than a mere beast if you wish to save humanity. Elias nodded, his resolve hardening. He knew that Xyla was right. He had to evolve and grow stronger. With her help, he could harness his powers and protect humanity from the undead threat. But first, he had to deal with Commander Cal and her desires for control. As the days went by, Elias trained harder than ever before, pushing himself beyond his limits to unlock new abilities. He felt a growing sense of purpose and determination, knowing that he was not alone in this fight. With Xyla's guidance and Zara's support, he knew he could face whatever lay ahead. But Commander Cal did not give up easily. She continued to ask questions about Elias' powers and pressured the faculty to share their findings with her. The tension at the academy grew thicker by the day as students feared for their safety and faculty members were torn between loyalty to the institution and their concerns for Elias. One night, a group of armed soldiers led by Commander Cal stormed into Elias' dormitory. They surrounded him, demanding that he surrender his powers to her. Elias stood tall, refusing to back down in the face of such aggression. He knew that if he gave in, humanity would lose its last hope of survival. "I will not let you take my powers," Elias declared, his voice steady despite the fear that gnawed at him. "They were given to me for a reason, and I will use them to save humanity." Commander Cal's expression darkened as she snarled, "You are nothing more than an insect, Elias. You cannot possibly understand the importance of your powers." Elias felt his anger rise at her words, but he knew better than to let it consume him. He focused on his breathing and channeled his energy into a powerful burst that sent Commander Cal and her soldiers reeling backwards. They retreated, unable to deal with Elias' newfound abilities. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Elias realized that he had taken a crucial step forward in his evolution. He knew that he must continue to grow stronger, both physically and mentally, if he was to save humanity from the undead horde. With Xyla's guidance, he would face whatever challenges lay ahead and fulfill his destiny. As days turned into weeks, Elias continued to evolve, mastering new abilities and growing in power. He faced numerous trials and tribulations, but with each challenge he grew stronger. The undead horde grew ever closer, but Elias knew that if he could harness his powers, he could turn the tide of the battle. One day, as Elias meditated under a towering oak tree, he felt another presence enter his mind. It was Xyla, who had been guiding him all along. She revealed to him the truth about the apocalypse and the role that he must play in ending it. "Elias," she said solemnly, "you are more than just a simple insect. You are the key to humanity's salvation." Elias felt a surge of emotion as he realized the weight of his destiny. He had been given a chance to save humanity, and he would not let it slip through his fingers. With renewed determination, he vowed to face whatever challenges lay ahead and fulfill his purpose. As days turned into weeks, Elias continued his training under Xyla's guidance. The undead horde grew ever closer, but he knew that he was not alone in this fight. He had allies who believed in him, and together they would find a way to save humanity from the brink of extinction. The end was near, and Elias knew that it would be a battle unlike any other. But with his powers growing stronger and his resolve unwavering, he felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The fate of humanity rested on his shoulders, but he would not let them down. With Xyla's guidance and the support of his allies, he knew that together they could save humanity from the undead horde. Abyssal Ascendancy, the ancient academy stood tall atop a hill, shrouded in mist, a beacon of hope amidst the chaos of the apocalypse. It was here that the last remnants of humanity gathered to learn the secret to survival, transformation into powerful beasts. Among them were Elias, Zara, and many others who had lost everything to the undead horde. Elias stood on a hill overlooking the academy, his new insectoid body rippling with power. His senses heightened, he could feel the weight of countless lives resting on his shoulders. He was no longer just Elias, he was humanity's last hope, and it weighed heavily upon him. Below, Zara sparred with a fellow student in the academy courtyard. Her fierce determination and skill were evident as she fought with a grace that belied her past. The scars on her arms told tales of battles fought and won, each one a testament to her resilience. Commander Cal observed from a distance, her eyes narrowing as they landed upon Elias. She watched him intently, calculating how best to exploit his powers for her own gain. As the sun set, she sent word to her soldiers, ordering them to prepare for an assault on the academy. Elias felt a shiver run through him as he sensed their approach. He knew that he must evolve further if he was going to survive this night and protect humanity from Commander Cal's ambitions. Xyla peered beside him, her eyes filled with concern. "You must trust yourself," she said softly. "Your power is your own, and it can save us all." Elias nodded, determined to prove himself worthy of the responsibility placed upon him. As twilight gave way to night, he prepared for the battle that lay ahead. The fate of humanity rested on his shoulders, and he would not let them down. The academy was soon under siege, its walls crumbling as Commander Kale's soldiers poured through the gates. Elias stood tall amidst the chaos, his newfound powers glowing brightly in the darkness. He fought with a fury born of desperation, determined to protect those who had taken him in and given him hope. Zara stood beside him, her own powers surging as she faced off against Commander Kale herself. The two fighters circled each other, their eyes locked in a fierce standoff. It was clear that this battle would determine the course of humanity's future. As the night wore on, Elias began to gain the upper hand, his powers growing stronger with each passing moment. He could feel his evolution taking hold, and he knew that he was closer than ever to reaching his full potential. With a final burst of energy, he struck Commander Kale down, her army quickly crumbling in defeat. The academy had been saved, but the fight for humanity's survival was far from over. Elias knew that there would be more battles to come, and he vowed to stand strong against them all. With Exila by his side, he set out to uncover the truth behind the apocalypse and end it once and for all. The academy's walls stood tall once more as dawn broke over the horizon. Elias looked out upon the remnants of Commander Kale's army, feeling a strange mix of relief and dread. The battle had been won, but he knew that the true fight was still to come. He turned to Exila, his eyes filled with determination. "What is our next move?" he asked quietly. She smiled softly, her gaze steady as she looked out upon the horizon. "We must uncover the truth behind this apocalypse," she said, "and then, together, we will end it." Inside the ancient academy's hallowed halls, Elias and Exila walked alongside Zara, who bore a fierce expression as she looked out over the devastated grounds from the safety of the walls. They approached a towering stone door etched with intricate carvings depicting mythical beasts and ancient rituals. "This is where the secret class takes place," Zyla explained, gesturing towards the door. "It's where those who wish to evolve into powerful beings can unlock their true potential." Elias' eyes widened in awe as he surveyed the massive doors. His heart raced with anticipation and fear. He knew that this was his chance to become stronger, but the thought of undergoing such a transformation filled him with trepidation. Zara turned to him with a determined glint in her eyes. "Are you ready, Elias?" she asked, her voice echoing with conviction. "To embrace your destiny and become what you were meant to be." He hesitated for a moment before nodding reluctantly. With Exila's guidance, they stepped through the ancient doors, entering a chamber bathed in an ethereal, pulsating light. The walls were lined with crystals that seemed to hum softly as Elias took in his surroundings. "Welcome," Zyla said solemnly, her voice echoing throughout the room. "This is where you'll learn to master your powers and unlock the secrets of the apocalypse." In the center of the chamber stood a pedestal upon which lay a glowing gemstone, pulsating with an otherworldly energy. Elias felt a strange connection to it as his eyes met its hypnotic glow. "This is the Heartstone," Zyla explained. "It holds the essence of every transformation the Academy has ever performed. It will guide you on your journey towards becoming the ultimate beast." Elias approached the pedestal, feeling a strange energy coursing through him as he touched the gemstone. He could feel his body beginning to change, his limbs lengthening, his eyes glowing with an eerie light. The transformation was overwhelming, and Elias fought against it, unsure if he was ready for such a drastic change. Zara stepped forward, placing a comforting hand on Elias' shoulder. "Remember," she said, her voice steady and strong, "you are not alone in this. We will face whatever comes together." With renewed determination, Elias allowed the transformation to complete. When he opened his eyes, he found himself standing before them as a massive, winged creature with powerful limbs and glowing eyes that seemed to pierce the darkness around him. He looked down at his new form in awe, feeling a strange sense of power coursing through him. "You have begun your transformation," Zyla said, her voice filled with pride. "But there is much more to learn if you wish to unlock your full potential." And abyssal ascendancy inside the ancient academy, Elias stood tall and proud, his newfound body reflecting the power he had never known. He looked around at the hallowed halls adorned with intricate carvings that spoke of a time long past, when the academy was a hub of knowledge and enlightenment. Elias' thoughts were interrupted by the sound of heavy footsteps approaching, and Scylla appeared at his side. "Be cautious," she warned him. "The academy is not safe from prying eyes." As if on cue, a group of armed soldiers led by Commander Cal burst into the room, their eyes fixed on Elias with a mix of fear and avarice. Zyla raised her hands, and a shimmering barrier appeared between them and the soldiers. "You will not take him," she declared, her voice echoing through the ancient chamber. Commander Cal sneered at Zyla's defiance. "I have waited too long for this moment to let you stand in my way." With a wave of her hand, her soldiers attacked, their weapons gleaming as they sought to breach the barrier. Elias watched as Scylla fought with skill and grace, keeping the soldiers at bay while he struggled to control his new powers. He could feel the energy coursing through him, but it was like trying to grasp a wild animal that refused to be tamed. The battle raged on, and Elias knew that he couldn't hold out forever. His new body was powerful, but the soldiers seemed endless in number. He looked around for an escape route, but there was none. In a last-ditch effort, Elias focused his powers, drawing on the energy coursing through him. The air crackled with electricity as he unleashed a devastating blast that sent the soldiers flying and shattered the barrier. Commander Kale stumbled back, her eyes wide with shock and fear. Scylla rushed to Elias' side, helping him regain control of his powers before they turned against him. Together, they made their escape through a hidden passageway, leaving Commander Cal and her remaining soldiers behind. As they fled deeper into the ancient academy, Elias felt a newfound sense of determination. He knew that he was not just fighting for himself, but for humanity's survival. And as he looked at Scylla, who stood by his side without hesitation, he realized that he wasn't alone in this battle. The ancient academy loomed before them, its stone walls scarred and worn from countless millennia of weathering and the passage of time. Elias' heart raced as he took in the imposing structure that would be their sanctuary or their prison. He glanced at Scylla, who returned his look with a reassuring smile. "We've come too far to turn back now," she said, her voice echoing faintly within the vast halls. "I believe the academy holds the secrets we need to save humanity." As they ventured deeper into the academy, Elias felt his senses grow more attuned to their surroundings. The stone walls seemed to hum with hidden energy, and he could sense the presence of others within the building. He tried to focus on controlling his powers, but each step brought new challenges as he struggled to keep his emotions in check. The two made their way through a series of intricate chambers, each more beautiful than the last. They passed through grand libraries filled with ancient scrolls and texts, vast courtyards adorned with statues of long-forgotten heroes, and halls lined with ornate tapestries that depicted scenes from an era long past. They encountered a towering stone door etched with intricate carvings depicting the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, and the eternal cycle of life and death. Elias felt a shiver run down his spine as he gazed upon the images, sensing the weight of history behind them. Scylla placed her hand on his shoulder. "This is where we will find the Heartstone," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "The key to unlocking your true potential." As they approached the door, Elias' heart pounded in his chest. He could feel a powerful energy emanating from beyond it, and he knew that whatever lay within was not meant for him or Scylla alone. They were not the only ones seeking the Heartstone, and they would have to face their pursuers head-on if they hoped to claim its power. A sudden burst of movement caught Elias' eye as a group of soldiers rounded a corner, weapons at the ready. Commander Kell stood at their head, her eyes narrowed with determination. "You thought you could hide from me?" she sneered. "I've been tracking your every move, and now I have you exactly where I want you." Elias felt his anger surge within him, fueling his powers like never before. He knew he couldn't let Commander Cal take the Heartstone or use it for her own gain. With a roar that echoed through the halls, he took flight, his wings beating powerfully as he dove towards the enemy soldiers. The battle was fierce and relentless, with Elias unleashing a flurry of attacks against Commander Cal's forces. He could sense Zara among them, fighting alongside him with her own newfound powers, but there were simply too many soldiers to overcome on their own. In the midst of the chaos, Scylla stepped forward, her eyes ablaze with an ethereal light. She raised her hands and chanted a strange incantation, causing the walls around them to shake violently as an enormous rift opened in the stone. A flood of undead creatures poured forth from the rift, their twisted forms writhing and howling as they surged towards the soldiers. Elias felt his anger subside as he watched the monstrous horde descend upon them, knowing that this was a battle even Commander Kell could not win. Together, Elias, Scylla, and Zara fought their way through the chaos, using their powers to fend off the relentless onslaught of the undead. As they emerged from the battle, battered but victorious, Elias felt a renewed sense of purpose coursing through him. He knew that the road ahead would be long and treacherous, but he was no longer alone in his fight for humanity's survival. With Scylla by his side and Zara at his back, he would face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage and determination. Abyssal Ascendancy, the Academy's hallowed halls echoed with the distant thudding of boots and heavy breathing as Commander Cal and her soldiers approached. Elias, Zara, and Scylla huddled together near the Heartstone Chamber's entrance, their faces etched with concern. "We must hold them off," declared Zara, gripping a blood-stained sword. "I will lead." Elias hesitated, remembering the first time he felt his newfound powers stir within him. He had tried to control them, but they proved too wild and unpredictable. Zyla sensed his anxiety, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Fear not," she said softly. "You have grown stronger since then." With a nod of agreement, Elias followed Zara into the fray as the stone door creaked open. The ethereal light from the chamber pulsed through the crack, casting eerie shadows upon the soldiers' faces as they charged toward them. The battle began in earnest. Elias felt his powers surge once more, but he struggled to keep them in check. He remembered the advice Xyla had given him. The key is focus. As a swarm of undead creatures burst forth from the rift, Commander Cal screamed orders to her soldiers. Elias gritted his teeth, forcing himself to concentrate on the enemy before him. A roar echoed through the halls as Zara engaged in combat, slicing through enemies with deadly precision. Zyla worked tirelessly to keep the undead at bay, casting spells that sent them reeling back. Elias watched the chaos unfold, trying to find a way to contribute. He felt his powers straining against him, desperate to be released. With a deep breath, he focused on the energy within him and let it flow, unleashing a surge of power that sent undead flying and momentarily stunned Commander Cal. The battle raged on, but the tide began to turn in their favor. As the last soldier fell, Elias collapsed onto the cold stone floor, his body trembling from the exertion. Zara knelt beside him, concern etched across her face. "I am sorry," Elias panted. "I cannot control it." Zyla's eyes glistened with understanding and compassion. "You will learn," she said softly, helping him to his feet. "We must regroup and prepare for what comes next." As they stepped into the chamber, the ethereal light pulsed brighter, casting a warm glow upon their faces. The Heartstone lay before them, its surface shimmering with power. Elias felt a sudden surge of hope. Together, they had faced an impossible enemy and emerged victorious. But this was only the beginning, for the undead horde continued to advance, and they knew that more challenges awaited them in the ancient academy's depths. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow across the ancient academy's hallowed halls, Elias, Zara, and Xyla made their way deeper into the labyrinthine structure. The walls seemed to whisper secrets long forgotten as they passed by ornate statues and ancient frescoes depicting powerful beasts in combat against colossal undead monstrosities. "This academy has seen so much," Elias remarked, awestruck by the grandeur surrounding them. "Indeed," Xyla replied, her voice barely audible. "But it is more than just a monument to the past. It's a treasure trove of knowledge waiting to be unlocked. We must find the Heartstone quickly," Zara urged, her eyes scanning the dimly lit corridors for any signs of danger. "The undead are growing stronger, and Commander Cal will not rest until she finds us." As they ventured further, the air grew colder, and a sense of unease settled over them. The scent of decay wafted through the halls, mingling with the musty fragrance of old parchment and dust. Eventually, they arrived at a towering stone door etched with intricate carvings depicting colossal beasts locked in battle against monstrous undead beings. Elias reached out to touch one of the carvings, feeling a surge of energy coursing through his veins. "These images seem familiar," he mused. "As if I've seen them before." "That's because these are lessons from the Academy's hidden curriculum," Xyla explained. "The transformation into powerful beasts is more than just a physical change. It requires understanding and mastering the essence of each beast. These carvings serve as guides for those who seek to unlock their true potential." Zara nodded grimly. "Then we must find these lessons if we are to have any hope against Commander Cal and her soldiers." As they pushed open the heavy stone door, they stepped into a chamber bathed in an ethereal, pulsating light. The walls were lined with ancient tomes and scrolls, their pages filled with cryptic symbols and diagrams. In the center of the room stood a pedestal upon which rested a glowing crystal that hummed softly. "The Heartstone," Elias whispered in awe. "But how do we activate it?" Xyla approached the pedestal cautiously, her fingers brushing against the cool stone surface as she examined the intricate carvings etched into it. After a moment of study, she looked up, her eyes alight with understanding. "Each of us must make a connection to the Heartstone through our own unique abilities," she explained. "By doing so, we will unlock the hidden curriculum and learn how to transform into powerful beasts." Zara stepped forward, gripping her sword tightly as she focused on the stone. A brilliant flash of light enveloped her, and when it subsided, she stood tall and regal, a majestic griffin at her side. "Impressive," Elias marveled. "But I fear I am not ready to undergo such a transformation." Xyla nodded sympathetically. "It takes time and practice to harness one's powers fully, but do not worry. We will help you, Elias." As they stood in the chamber, the air seemed to crackle with energy. Elias felt a growing sense of urgency and determination. He closed his eyes, focusing on the connection he forged with the Heartstone through his own powers. A sudden surge of power coursed through him, and when he opened his eyes, he found himself transformed into a massive, winged creature with razor-sharp talons and a muscular, armored hide. I cannot believe it, Elias stammered, awestruck by the sight of his new form. I am a dragon. Zara smiled warmly. Welcome to your new life, Elias. Together we will face whatever challenges lie ahead. As they left the chamber, the air seemed charged with anticipation and excitement. The ancient academy's secrets were finally being unlocked, and the trio was ready to embrace their destinies as powerful beasts. But little did they know, Commander Kell was already making her way toward them, determined to claim Elias' power for her own. Abyssal ascendancy, the ancient academy was alive with whispers and echoes of distant battles. Elias' heart pounded in his chest, the sound reverberating through the stone corridors as he clutched onto Zara's arm for support. The once mysterious woman had been more than forthcoming about her past, revealing herself to be a former student of the academy and an accomplished warrior. Elias, Sila said, her voice echoing through the stone halls, we mustn't linger here for long. The ethereal light that surrounded them flickered as she looked back, concern etched on her face. Elias nodded, taking a deep breath. He could feel the power coursing through his veins, the newfound energy making him feel both powerful and vulnerable. He was no longer just a scholar. He was now a dragon, a creature of legend and fear. But with great power came great responsibility, something he still struggled to understand. I'll be fine, Elias said, mustering up as much confidence as he could. We should move on. The group continued down the hallway, their footsteps echoing ominously. Ahead, a shadow moved in the darkness, and all three froze. Sila raised her hand, casting a spell that illuminated the area. The shadow resolved into the unmistakable form of Commander Cal, flanked by a squad of soldiers. So, she sneered, you've finally found your way here. She gestured to her soldiers. Capture them, and bring them back to me alive. I have need of their abilities. Zara growled, baring her teeth as she stepped forward. Elias grabbed her arm, pulling her back. We can't fight them here, he whispered. We need to find a way out. We won't let you take us that easily, Zara retorted, but Elias could see the uncertainty in her eyes. He knew they couldn't face Commander Kal and her soldiers without a plan. They retreated down another hallway, their pursuers hot on their heels. The academy seemed to twist and turn around them, the corridors growing increasingly labyrinthine as they raced for safety. But there was no escaping the feeling of being cornered. They were trapped within these ancient halls with nowhere to run. Elias felt a surge of anger coursing through him. He had become something more than human, and he wouldn't let Commander Cal take that away from him. As they reached a dead end, Elias spread his wings, the power of the dragon flowing within him. Zara, he said, we can't run anymore. Then we fight, she replied, her eyes flashing with determination. Together, they stood their ground as Commander Cal and her soldiers closed in. Elias could feel the weight of his newfound power pressing down on him, urging him to let loose a torrent of fire upon them. But he hesitated, unsure of the consequences. He had heard stories of dragons that went mad with power, consumed by their own destructive nature. In that moment, Xyla stepped forward, her eyes focused intently on Commander Cal. She spoke in a voice that seemed to echo through time itself. You will not take these beings from me so easily. Commander Cal sneered, but she retreated, her soldiers backing away as well. For now, they had won the battle, but Elias knew that their struggle was far from over. The true test lay ahead, and he wasn't sure if he was ready for it. As they caught their breath, Elias looked at Zara and Xyla, realizing just how much they meant to him. He had been alone for so long, but now he had found companions in the most unlikely of places. And together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, no matter what form they took. In the heart of the ancient academy, Elias found himself surrounded by a motley crew of students who had banded together in the face of their shared enemy. Among them were Zara, a fierce warrior with eyes that held a myriad of stories, and Xyla, a woman shrouded in mystery whose wisdom seemed to transcend time itself. Together they navigated through the academy's hallowed halls, each floor more intricate than the last. The air was thick with tension as they approached a towering stone door etched with intricate carvings that seemed to dance in the dim light filtering through the stained glass windows above. What lies beyond those doors? Elias asked, his voice trembling slightly at the thought of what horrors might await them. Zara's gaze never wavered as she replied, only one way to find out. As they approached, the door swung open on its own accord, revealing a chamber bathed in an ethereal, pulsating light. Elias felt his heart race at the sight before him, an immense crystal pedestal encased within a transparent casing, pulsating with energy that seemed to hum in harmony with their own hearts. The Heartstone, Xyla whispered reverently. A relic of old, said to grant untold powers to those worthy. Elias's eyes widened as he took in the sight, feeling a surge of power coursing through his veins. He knew he had come closer to realizing his potential. Yet doubts lingered at the back of his mind. He could feel the weight of his past bearing down on him, the guilt and fear threatening to overwhelm him once more. As he stared into the Heartstone's pulsating glow, he saw reflections of himself, not just as a man reborn as an insect, but as a soldier, a scholar, and a friend. And for the first time, he realized he was not alone in his struggle. Meanwhile, Commander Cal had regrouped her forces, strategizing to take control of the Heartstone for herself. She knew its power would make her unstoppable, but she underestimated the bond forged between Elias and his newfound companions. As they stood before the Heartstone, a sense of unity and purpose surged through them, strengthening their resolve against Commander Cal's impending assault on the Academy. In the heart of the ancient Academy, the students prepared to face the coming storm, their spirits united as never before. They knew that the road ahead would be treacherous, but they also understood that together, they could overcome any obstacle and save humanity from the undead horde, and with the Heartstone within their grasp, they felt a renewed sense of hope for the future. As Elias gazed upon the Heartstone, he knew that his journey had only just begun. The weight of the world rested on his shoulders, but he also felt a newfound sense of purpose and belonging among his companions. He would face the challenges ahead with courage, knowing that he was not alone in his struggle against the undead horde and the treacherous Commander Cal. Abyssal Ascendancy, the moon cast long shadows as Elias, Zara, and Exila approached the ancient stone door etched with intricate carvings at the Academy's heart. The pulsating light from within drew them like a beacon. Its rhythmic pulse echoed in their chests, resonating with their own surging power. "We must find the Heartstone," Zyla whispered, her eyes locked onto the door. "It holds the key to unlocking our full potential." Elias glanced nervously at his companions, feeling the weight of his newfound powers bearing down on him. The memories of his past life still haunted him, threatening to undermine his resolve. Zara stepped forward, her hand resting on the hilt of her blood-stained sword. "We'll face whatever lies within," she declared, a determined glint in her eyes. Together, as they crossed the threshold, the chamber bathed in an ethereal glow, revealing towering stone pillars and ancient murals depicting various beasts that had come before them. The Heartstone sat atop a pedestal in the center of the room, pulsating with energy. Elias' breath hitched as he approached it, his heart pounding with anticipation and fear. He could feel the power coursing through him, threatening to overwhelm him if he wasn't careful. Xyla placed a hand on Elias' shoulder, offering a calming touch. "You can do this," she whispered, her eyes filled with belief. As they prepared to reach for the Heartstone, the chamber suddenly shook violently. The pulsating light dimmed, replaced by darkness. Footsteps echoed through the hallowed halls, drawing closer. "Commander Cal," Zara growled, gripping her sword tighter. "We've been expecting you." Commander Cal stood atop a raised platform, flanked by her soldiers. A twisted smile graced her lips as she surveyed the group before her. "I knew I would find you here," she sneered. "The Heartstone will not fall into your hands so easily." Elias bristled, his new powers surging forth. "You won't take it from us," he declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. A battle ensued, the ancient academy shaking with each strike of steel against stone. The air was thick with tension as the fate of humanity hung in the balance. In the midst of chaos, Elias felt his powers growing stronger, his senses sharpening as he embraced the beast within him. He fought with newfound ferocity, his companions by his side. As the battle raged on, Commander Cal retreated, vowing to return with more forces. The group stood battered but victorious, their bond stronger than ever before. With Commander Cal's departure, they turned their attention to the Heartstone once more. As Elias reached out, he felt a surge of energy coursing through him, binding him to the artifact in ways he could not yet comprehend. Elias, a former scholar who became a student at the academy, Elias struggles with his newfound powers and the weight of his past. He is haunted by memories of loved ones lost to the undead horde and grapples with guilt over his inability to save them. His journey to the ancient academy has brought him newfound purpose, but also tested his limits as he battles against both the undead threat and those who seek to control his powers for their own gain. Zara, a fierce warrior with a mysterious past, Zara is determined to survive the Academy's trials and become the ultimate beast. Her unwavering resolve masks a deep-seated fear of being consumed by her powers as she remembers the consequences of those who have succumbed to their darker aspects in the past. Commander Cal, a ruthless military leader, Commander Cal seeks to control Elias' power for her own gain. Her ambition and cold-heartedness have made her a formidable adversary, but she harbors secrets that could change everything if revealed. Exila, a mysterious woman who aids the protagonist in his journey, Scylla reveals the truth about the apocalypse as they uncover the Academy's hidden curriculum. Her understanding of the world and its dark history make her an essential ally for Elias, but she has her own motives that remain shrouded in mystery. Inside the ancient Academy's hallowed halls, a sense of foreboding hung heavy in the air as Elias, Zara, and Exila limped through the battered corridors. The remnants of Commander Kell's assault were evident, with shattered statues, broken furniture, and trails of blood leading away like spectral apparitions. "We must find shelter," Zyla said, her voice barely above a whisper as she surveyed the destruction around them. "The Heartstone's power will wane if we don't rest." Elias nodded in agreement, his thoughts still racing from their battle against Commander Cal and her soldiers. He felt a strange connection to the Heartstone, a pulsating energy coursing through his veins that made him feel both invincible and vulnerable at once. "The Academy's heart lies ahead," Zara said, her eyes scanning the dimly lit passageways for any sign of danger. "If we can reach it, perhaps we can find answers." As they ventured deeper into the ancient academy, the corridors became more labyrinthine, twisting and turning like a maze designed to confuse and ensnare intruders. Elias felt his powers growing stronger with every step, but he could not shake the feeling that they were being watched. "We must be careful," Zyla warned as they rounded a corner, her hand gripping the hilt of her blood-stained sword. There may still be soldiers lurking in the shadows. Suddenly, the group stumbled upon a towering stone door etched with intricate carvings depicting scenes of battle and transformation. The air around it seemed to hum with energy, as though the Heartstone itself lay beyond its threshold. Elias felt a deep connection to the door, as though it recognized him for who he truly was. "This must be the entrance to the Heartstone chamber," Zyla murmured, her eyes wide with awe. "I never thought we would find it so soon." As they approached the door, it swung open with a creaking groan, revealing a chamber bathed in an ethereal, pulsating light that seemed to radiate from the Heartstone itself. At its center lay a pedestal, upon which rested a glowing crystal that pulsed in time with Alea's heartbeat. "This is it," Zyla said, her voice barely audible as she approached the pedestal. The chamber of the Heartstone. Elias stepped forward, feeling a strange sense of peace wash over him as he gazed upon the crystal. As he reached out to touch it, however, the air around them began to tremble, and a low rumbling echoed through the hallowed halls. "What's happening?" Zara demanded, her eyes darting between Elias and the Heartstone. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet shook violently, sending waves of debris cascading down from above. As they struggled to maintain their footing, a figure cloaked in shadows emerged from the chaos, revealing itself to be Commander Cal. "You thought you could hide here?" she sneered, her voice cold and menacing. "I always knew that you would find this place. We won't let you take it," Zara growled, drawing her sword and positioning herself between Elias and the commander. "Your resistance is futile," Commander Cal said, a cruel smile playing upon her lips as she raised her own weapon. "I will claim this power for myself." As the battle raged on, Elias felt his powers growing stronger by the second, but he could not shake the feeling that there was more to the Heartstone than they had initially realized. As the dust cleared and Commander Cal retreated once more, he knew that their journey had only just begun. Elias turned to Scylla and Zara, his eyes burning with determination. "We must find a way to stop her," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos that swirled around them. Abyssal ascendancy in the ancient academy's hallowed halls, Elias, Zara, and Exila cautiously made their way towards a towering stone door etched with intricate carvings. The pulsating light emanating from within seemed to grow stronger as they approached. As they pushed open the heavy, creaking doors, they found themselves standing in a chamber bathed in an ethereal glow. This is incredible," Elias stammered, awestruck by the sight before them, a pulsating orb of light suspended above a pedestal in the center of the room. "The Heartstone." Zara crossed her arms, studying the artifact carefully. "I've never seen anything like it. This must be where they unlock their powers." Zyla stepped forward, reaching out to touch the pulsating orb. It hummed softly under her fingertips, a comforting vibration that seemed to resonate within Elias as well. He closed his eyes, feeling a surge of energy coursing through his veins. When he opened them again, he was staring at Zara, who now stood before him in a form both familiar and alien. She was covered in shimmering armor, her features sharper, her eyes glowing with an unnatural light. What have I become?" Elias asked, his voice shaking. Zara looked down at herself, then back up at Elias. "We've unlocked the hidden curriculum. Our powers are evolving." A sudden noise echoed through the chamber, a sound like distant thunder rumbling in the distance. They all turned towards the academy's entrance, where a large group of Commander Kale's soldiers stormed into the room, brandishing weapons and blood-stained swords. You have made a grave mistake. Commander Cal sneered as she stepped forward from the crowd, her eyes fixed on the Heartstone. I will not let you control this power. Elias stood tall, his newfound strength surging through him. You underestimate us, he growled, summoning a swarm of insects to his aid. Zara and Exila followed suit, their powers growing stronger as they prepared for battle. The fight was fierce, but the trio managed to fend off Commander Kel's forces, their newfound abilities proving more than a match for the soldiers. In the end, it was Elias who dealt the final blow, striking down Commander Kel with a swift and powerful strike. We did it, Zara whispered as they caught their breath, surrounded by the wreckage of the battle. But our journey is far from over. The pulsating orb above the pedestal flickered, seeming to acknowledge their victory before growing dimmer and fading away. Elias, Zara, and Exila glanced at each other, understanding that they had unlocked only one part of the hidden curriculum. The true challenges still lay ahead. As they stepped out into the Academy's hallowed halls once more, they knew that the path before them would be fraught with danger, but they also knew that they were stronger than ever. Together, they would face whatever came next and continue their quest to save humanity from the undead horde. The air inside the chamber was thick with anticipation as Elias, Zara, and Exila stood before the pulsating Heartstone. Its glow illuminated their faces, casting eerie shadows on the ancient walls behind them. What is this thing? Asked Elias, his voice trembling with awe. Is it safe? Zara stepped forward cautiously, her bloodstained sword held ready in case of danger. We'll find out soon enough. As she reached for the Heartstone, it pulsed stronger, causing the chamber to shake slightly. The stone seemed to acknowledge her presence, and suddenly a vision appeared before them. In the vision, Zara saw a world torn apart by the undead horde. She watched as her fellow warriors fought bravely, only to be overrun and consumed by the monstrous creatures. She felt a burning rage rise within her, fueling her determination to survive and protect those she cared about. Meanwhile, Elias saw images of himself, surrounded by scholars and students from the academy. He witnessed their struggles, their triumphs, and the sacrifices they made in pursuit of knowledge. He felt a deep connection to these people, many of whom he had never met. He realized that his powers were not just for his own survival, but for the greater good. Zyla's vision was different. She saw a world where humans lived alongside magical beings in harmony. She witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the ebb and flow of power, and the constant struggle between darkness and light. She felt an immense weight on her shoulders as she realized that she played a crucial role in maintaining this delicate balance. The visions ended, leaving them breathless and shaken. Zara's new powers surged within her, her armor growing stronger and more resilient with each passing moment. Elias felt his own powers stirring, ready to be harnessed for the challenges ahead. Xyla seemed unchanged but looked determined to uncover the mysteries of the Heartstone. Suddenly, a loud crashing sound echoed through the chamber. They turned as one to see Commander Kal and her soldiers bursting through the stone door. The air was filled with the scent of blood and fear. "I've been waiting for you," sneered Commander Kal, her eyes locked on Elias. "Now I have you all in one place. There's no escaping me." The battle that followed was fierce and brutal. The chamber echoed with the clash of steel against steel, the roars of the undead soldiers, and the cries of their enemies. Zara fought with a ferocity born from her vision, her new powers allowing her to cleave through multiple enemies at once. Elias used his growing powers to heal his allies and strike fear into the hearts of their foes. Zyla held her ground, using her knowledge and wisdom to strategize and keep them focused on their goal. Despite their best efforts, Commander Kal proved a formidable opponent. She fought with skill and cunning, her soldiers following her every command without question. The battle raged on for what felt like hours, leaving the chamber a chaotic mess of broken weapons, fallen enemies, and exhausted fighters. In the heat of combat, Elias found himself face to face with Commander Kal. He felt a strange pull towards her, as if their fates were somehow intertwined, but he knew that she was a threat to humanity, and he could not let her live. With a surge of power, he summoned his energy into a massive blast, obliterating Commander Kal and ending the battle. Exhausted and battered, Elias, Zara, and Exila looked around at the carnage that surrounded them. They had won the battle, but they knew that this was only the beginning of their journey. The Heartstone's mysteries remained unsolved, Commander Kal's pursuit continued, and the undead horde still lurked beyond the Academy's walls. Abyssal Ascendancy Elias stood atop a hill overlooking the ancient Academy, gazing at its towering stone walls etched with intricate carvings that whispered tales of forgotten history and untold power. A sense of unease gnawed at him. The Heartstone's visions had left him vulnerable, and he felt the weight of his newfound powers like a heavy mantle upon his shoulders. "Are you ready?" Zara asked, standing beside him. her eyes fixed on the academy with determination burning in their depths. For what? Elias replied hesitantly, glancing at Scylla, who stood silently observing them both. To continue our journey, Scylla answered calmly, her voice like a gentle breeze rustling the leaves around them. As they entered the academy's hallowed halls, whispers echoed in their minds, hinting at secrets long forgotten and dangers waiting to be uncovered. A sense of unease hung over them like a shroud, but there was no turning back now. Their journey took them through twisted corridors and chambers bathed in an ethereal glow. Every step felt heavy, as if the academy itself resisted their presence. They encountered scholars who seemed lost in thought or tormented by their pasts. Some greeted them with cold stares, while others avoided eye contact altogether. "This place has changed since we were students," Elias murmured, recalling his days at the academy as a scholar before everything went wrong. "It feels oppressive." Zara nodded in agreement. "The Heartstone's power has awakened something within these walls. I can feel it, and it doesn't like us," Scylla added, her voice barely above a whisper. "We must be careful." As they ventured deeper into the academy, they encountered challenges designed to test their newfound powers. They battled strange creatures born from the Heartstone's energy, their forms shifting and changing with each encounter. Elias struggled with his control over his own abilities, fearing that he might lose himself in the process. "Elias," Zara called out one day as they rested in a chamber, "you must learn to harness your power. We cannot afford mistakes." Her words struck him like a blow, reminding him of the consequences of his actions. He looked at Scylla, who nodded solemnly. "You are right, Zara. I must learn to control my powers, or we will all suffer." Elias resolved to face his fears head-on and embrace the power within him, no matter how daunting it seemed. One day, as they approached a towering stone door etched with intricate carvings, they heard the distant clang of steel against stone. Commander Kaal and her soldiers had arrived at the academy, seeking to claim the Heartstone's power for themselves. Elias felt a surge of anger at her audacity, but he knew they would have to face her eventually. "Prepare yourselves," Scylla warned as they braced themselves for the inevitable battle ahead. "We will not let Commander Kaal take what is rightfully ours." And so, they prepared for combat, their hearts heavy with anticipation and fear. The Academy's hallowed halls would bear witness to a fierce fight that would test the limits of their powers and their resolve. Little did they know, however, that their greatest challenge lay not in defeating Commander Kaal, but in uncovering the Heartstone's dark secrets and understanding the role they played in the apocalypse. As darkness fell over the ancient academy, the stage was set for a battle that would determine their fate and the fate of humanity itself. The heart of the academy pulsed with anticipation, its stone walls whispering tales of the struggles to come. And somewhere within its depths, the Heartstone watched, waiting to see which of them would rise above all others and claim its power for their own. The battle against Commander Kaal was long and brutal. Elias fought with newfound determination, determined to protect the academy and his friends from her grasp. Zara proved herself a fierce warrior, striking down soldiers left and right with her blood-stained sword. Scylla used her powers to manipulate the environment, turning the battlefield into a deadly maze for their enemies. But Commander Kaal was no easy foe. She was cunning and ruthless, using every trick in the book to gain the upper hand. Elias struggled to maintain control over his powers as the fight wore on, feeling the Heartstone's influence growing stronger with each passing moment. In the end, it was Scylla who dealt the final blow, striking Commander Kaal down with a surge of energy that lit up the academy like a beacon in the night. Their victory was bittersweet. They had lost many allies along the way, and the Heartstone's secrets remained shrouded in mystery. As dawn broke over the ancient academy, Elias, Zara, and Scylla stood atop the hill, gazing at the academy with a newfound appreciation for its power and majesty. They had faced their fears and emerged victorious, but they knew that their journey was far from over. "The Heartstone still holds many secrets," Elias murmured, his voice heavy with determination. "We must uncover them if we are to stand a chance against the undead horde." Zara nodded, her eyes shining with resolve, and Commander Kaal's defeat was just the beginning. "We have much work ahead of us." Together, Scylla added, her voice filled with hope and conviction, "we will save humanity and restore balance to this world." As they turned to face each other, a sense of unity washed over them, strengthening their bond as allies and friends. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, determined to bring an end to the apocalypse and secure a future for themselves and those who remained. The ancient academy stood silent witness to their vow, its stone walls echoing with the promise of hope and redemption. And so, the journey continued as Elias, Zara, and Scylla delved deeper into the heart of the academy, seeking answers and uncovering secrets that would change their lives forever. The road ahead was long and treacherous, but they were not alone. They had each other, and with their powers combined, nothing could stand in their way. Elias and his companions find themselves in a dimly lit chamber bathed in an ethereal glow emanating from an enormous crystal at its center, the Heartstone. As they approach, Xyla whispers to Elias about the artifact's true purpose. It is the source of the Academy's power and the means by which students can unlock their full potential as beasts. Elias gazes upon the pulsating crystal with a mix of curiosity and dread, unsure if he wants this newfound strength. Zara, on the other hand, steps closer, her eyes filled with determination. She recalls stories from her past, when humanity fought the undead hordes in an endless battle for survival. The Heartstone offers hope for their people, a chance to turn the tide against the monstrous foes that threaten their existence. Xyla explains that each student's journey is unique, shaped by their own experiences and desires. Some students seek power to protect their loved ones, others crave it for personal glory or revenge, but all must face trials designed to test their resolve and push them to evolve beyond their current forms. As they ponder the Heartstone's mysteries, a sudden commotion erupts in the Academy's hallowed halls. Commander Cal and her soldiers have arrived, intent on claiming the Heartstone for themselves. Elias and his companions brace themselves for battle as they prepare to defend their newfound home and allies. The fight is fierce, with both sides battling tooth and nail for control of the Academy. Yet despite their best efforts, Commander Cal's forces seem relentless. Zara, desperate to protect her friends, lunges at the commander, engaging in a brutal duel that leaves them both battered but unbroken. As the battle rages on, Elias struggles with his newfound abilities. He feels the power coursing through him, tempting him to give in to its call for dominance and destruction. But he remembers Xyla's words about evolution, about becoming more than just a simple insect. He fights against the darkness within him, refusing to let it consume him as he focuses on protecting those around him. In the end, they manage to repel Commander Cal's forces, leaving her wounded and defeated in the ancient Academy's hallowed halls. As she lies there, a sense of unease fills Elias. He knows that this is not the last time he will face such opposition, and he wonders if they can truly trust Xyla and her intentions for him and humanity. Abyssal Ascendancy Elias, Zara, and Xyla find themselves in the dimly lit chamber of the ancient Academy, their bodies weary from battle yet their spirits unbroken. The Heartstone shimmered faintly on a pedestal, emitting an eerie glow that illuminated the room. Zara approached cautiously, her eyes never leaving the Heartstone. "It's beautiful," she murmured, awestruck by its power. "But it's also dangerous," Elias replied, his voice heavy with the weight of their recent experiences. The memories of friends lost and enemies vanquished weighed heavily on him. Xyla stepped forward, her gaze intense. "We can harness this power to save humanity," she asserted, her conviction unwavering. Suddenly, they heard the distant clamor of approaching footsteps. Elias and Zara exchanged worried glances as they braced themselves for another battle. This time, they knew it might be more than they could handle alone. "Commander Cal," Xyla called out as a group of soldiers stormed into the chamber, led by their ruthless leader. "What brings you here?" she asked, her voice laced with sarcasm. Commander Cal sneered, "I seek the power within this Heartstone, and I will not rest until it is mine." She gestured to her soldiers, who advanced on Elias and Zara. Elias felt a surge of fear as he realized the enormity of their situation. If Commander Cal succeeded in seizing the Heartstone's power, humanity would be lost. He closed his eyes, focusing on the memories of his former life, the knowledge he had gained, and the power that now coursed through his veins. As he opened his eyes, a change came over Elias. His body began to shift, muscles bulging and wings sprouting from his back. Zara's eyes widened in shock as she watched her once scholar friend transform into something far more powerful than they had ever been before. With renewed determination, Elias charged at Commander Cal, the battle raging on around them. Though their enemy was cunning and relentless, Elias's newfound strength proved to be a formidable force against her soldiers. Together with Zara, they fought valiantly, defending their newfound home and allies from Commander Cal's grasp. As the battle reached its climax, Elias found himself face to face with Commander Cal once more. He could feel the Heartstone's power coursing through him, giving him a strength that far surpassed anything he had ever experienced before. With a final surge of energy, Elias struck Commander Cal down, leaving her defeated and helpless on the chamber floor. With their enemy vanquished, Elias, Zara, and Xyla stood over her, panting and battered. The battle had been fierce, but they had emerged victorious. Though their losses were great, they knew that they could not rest yet. The Heartstone's power was too dangerous to be left in the hands of someone like Commander Cal. In the dimly lit chamber of the ancient academy, Elias struggled to maintain his newfound powers, feeling their insatiable hunger consuming him from within. Zara stood vigilant beside him, her eyes scanning the walls for any sign of danger. Xyla's voice echoed in the chamber. The Heartstone's power must be controlled, Elias. It is your destiny to harness it and save humanity. Elias looked into Xyla's mysterious eyes, wondering if he could truly trust her. He recalled her cryptic words from their earlier encounters. You are not just a soldier in this war, Elias. You are the key to saving our world. Suddenly, the chamber doors creaked open, and a group of Commander Kale's soldiers flooded in. A cold chill ran down Elias' spine as he realized they had been betrayed. Xyla stepped forward, a blood-stained sword materializing in her hands. I am not your enemy, Commander, she said, her voice echoing with authority. Commander Kale sneered, her eyes filled with malice. You have no power here, woman. I will take what is mine. She raised her hand, and a wave of darkness enveloped the chamber. Elias felt his powers surging in response, but he couldn't control them. Zara stepped between him and Commander Cal, blocking her advance. This isn't over, Cal, she growled. The battle was fierce, but Elias' powers were growing stronger by the minute. He transformed into a monstrous being, towering above his enemies. However, the darkness within him threatened to consume him completely. Exila's voice echoed in his mind, urging him to focus and find balance. In the end, Elias emerged victorious, but he knew that this was only the beginning. The ancient academy had many secrets, and Commander Cal would not be the last threat they faced. With a heavy heart, Elias looked at Zara and Exila, realizing that their bond had grown stronger in these dark times. Together, they would face whatever trials lay ahead and uncover the truth behind the apocalypse. The trio left the chamber, knowing that their journey was far from over. As they ventured deeper into the Academy's hallowed halls, they couldn't shake off the feeling that their lives were forever entwined with the fate of humanity and the ancient Academy. The path ahead would be treacherous, but they had no choice but to continue on. Abyssal Ascendancy, the ancient Academy trembled under Commander Kale's relentless onslaught, its walls groaning in protest as her soldiers swarmed around its towering stone doors etched with intricate carvings. The Academy's hallowed halls had become their temporary sanctuary, a beacon of hope amidst the chaos that threatened to consume the world. Elias stood atop a hill overlooking the Academy, his heart pounding in his chest as he gazed upon the dimly lit chamber of the ancient Academy. A sense of dread settled over him, the weight of the responsibility he carried threatening to crush him under its oppressive burden. He clutched the Heartstone tightly, its pulsating, glow-casting eerie shadows across his face. Inside the Academy's hallowed halls, Zara paced back and forth, her blood-stained sword held tightly in her grip as she awaited word from Elias. The battle with Commander Cal had left their allies bruised but unbroken, and though they stood together, fear gnawed at the edges of her resolve. A sudden tremor shook the Academy, sending dust raining down from its crumbling walls. Zara's eyes widened in alarm as she sprinted towards the chamber bathed in an ethereal glow, where Elias stood, his face etched with determination. What is it? She demanded, her voice barely above a whisper. Elias hesitated for a moment before speaking, his gaze locked on the Heartstone. Commander Cal is here, he said softly. She's made her move. Zara cursed under her breath, her anger and fear bubbling to the surface as she gripped her sword tighter. Then we fight, she declared, her voice steeled with resolve. A sudden scream echoed through the Academy, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps approaching their position. The two allies exchanged a glance before charging towards the heart of the Academy, their hearts pounding in their chests as they prepared for battle. Commander Kale stood atop the Heartstone chamber, her soldiers surrounding her like a dark tide. Her eyes glinted with malice as she stared down at Elias and Zara, her lips curling into a cruel smile. I've been waiting for this moment, she hissed, her voice dripping with venom. Elias summoned the Heartstone's power, its ethereal glow flaring to life as he prepared to face his greatest enemy yet. As the battle raged on, both sides fought with desperate intensity, neither willing to back down. The fight was brutal and relentless, a testament to their determination to protect their home and allies from Commander Cal's grasp. Elias struggled to control the Heartstone's power, his mind racing as he sought to harness its full potential. Zara fought with unmatched ferocity, her blood-stained sword slicing through enemy soldiers like a hot knife through butter. As the battle reached its climax, Commander Kel lunged at Elias, her eyes cold and calculating as she sought to claim the Heartstone for herself. In that moment, Elias felt a surge of power course through him, his body transforming into a monstrous being. The transformation was painful, his muscles stretching and reforming under the pressure, but he stood tall, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Commander Kale stumbled back in shock as she beheld Elias' new form, her eyes wide with terror. No, she stammered, her voice trembling. This wasn't supposed to happen. Elias seized the opportunity, lunging at Commander Cal and sending her crashing to the ground. With a final, powerful roar, he unleashed the Heartstone's full might upon her, reducing her soldiers to ashes in an instant. The Academy trembled once more as the battle came to its end. Elias stood over Commander Kel's defeated form, his body aching from the transformation. He gazed down at Zara, who stood beside him, her expression a mix of fear and awe. "We did it," he whispered, his voice hoarse with exhaustion. "But this is only the beginning." The Academy's hallowed halls were silent as Elias and Zara surveyed the aftermath of their victory. The battle had left its mark upon them, but they stood together, bound by a common purpose. As they gazed out upon the ruins of Commander Kale's forces, they knew that they would face many challenges ahead, but they were ready to face whatever came next. Their journey was far from over, and though they had claimed a temporary victory, they knew that the true battle lay ahead. The apocalypse still loomed on the horizon, and they had much to learn about their own powers and the truth behind the Heartstone. But for now, they could rest easy knowing that they had stood together against overwhelming odds and emerged victorious. As the sun set upon the ancient academy, Elias and Zara stood side by side, their hearts filled with hope and determination. They had come far in their journey, but they knew that the greatest challenges still lay ahead. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, and they were ready to face whatever came next. Elias emerged from the rubble of the ancient academy, his newfound power radiating from him in waves. He surveyed the devastation around him, a grim smile playing on his lips as he noticed Zara standing atop a hill, watching him with a fierce determination. "Zara," he called out, his voice booming across the landscape. "We did it." Zara's face lit up in a warm smile, and she descended from her perch, running towards Elias as fast as her legs would carry her. They embraced, their hearts pounding with excitement and exhaustion. "We did it," she repeated, tears streaming down her cheeks. "We defeated Commander Cal." Elias nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon for any signs of remaining enemies. "But we must not rest yet. We still have much to do." As they walked back towards the academy, Elias felt a strange sensation coursing through him. His powers were growing stronger, and he could sense the Heartstone calling out to him. He turned to Zara, his eyes filled with worry. "I can feel it," he admitted. "Something is drawing me to that chamber." Zara's expression darkened, her grip tightening on Elias' arm. "We must be careful. I have a feeling this will not be an easy journey." Together, they made their way through the hallowed halls of the ancient academy, their senses on high alert for any signs of danger. As they approached the chamber bathed in ethereal light, they found it filled with strange symbols and runes. In the center stood a towering stone door etched with intricate carvings. Elias hesitated, his heart racing as he felt the power emanating from within. "This is it," he whispered to Zara, "the Heartstone." Zara nodded, her eyes burning with determination. "We must enter and claim our destiny." Taking a deep breath, Elias reached out, his fingers brushing against the cold stone door. It swung open with a creak, revealing a dimly lit chamber beyond. The walls were lined with glowing crystals, casting an eerie light over everything within. At the center of the chamber stood a massive stone pedestal upon which rested a blood-stained sword. As Elias approached, he felt his powers growing stronger, and he could sense the Heartstone calling out to him, urging him to take the sword. Zara watched as Elias picked up the sword, feeling a strange sensation coursing through her. "This is it," she murmured, "the end of our journey." Elias looked at Zara, his eyes filled with determination. "Together we will save humanity and bring an end to this nightmare." As they stood in the chamber, surrounded by the pulsating glow of the Heartstone, Elias could sense the weight of their destiny pressing down upon them. He knew that they were on the brink of greatness, but he also knew that danger lurked around every corner. Abyssal ascendancy, the days passed, and Elias' powers continued to grow exponentially. The once timid scholar found himself towering over the Academy's hallowed halls as he struggled to control his newfound abilities. Zara stood by his side, her fierce spirit unwavering, as they faced a myriad of challenges that tested their resolve. One day, a sudden tremor shook the ancient academy, the air filled with dust and debris, and Elias felt a chill run down his spine. He knew something was wrong. "Zara," he called out, "we need to find shelter." She nodded and led him through the dimly lit chamber of the academy, her keen senses guiding them towards safety. As they rounded a corner, they found themselves face to face with Commander Cal and her soldiers. The ruthless military leader sneered at Elias as he stood tall before her, his new powers evident in every muscle that rippled beneath his armored skin. "I've been waiting for this moment," she hissed, a bloodthirsty glint in her eyes. "Your power, little insect, belongs to me." Elias felt the weight of the world on his shoulders as he steeled himself against Commander Cal and her soldiers. He knew that he couldn't let them take control of his powers, not if he wanted to save humanity from the undead horde. A fierce battle ensued, with Elias using every ounce of strength he had to defend their newfound home and allies from Commander Kel's forces. Zara fought alongside him, her warrior spirit unwavering as they battled for their lives. But in the midst of the chaos, a betrayal occurred. One of Elias' closest allies turned against them, revealing himself to be an undercover agent of Commander Cal. Elias felt a surge of anger and confusion as he struggled to comprehend the treachery before him. With the odds stacked against them, Elias and Zara fought on, determined to save their home and the Academy's other students from Commander Cal's grasp. As the sun began to set over the ancient academy, Elias felt a sudden surge of power coursing through his veins. He knew that this was it, the moment he would either become humanity's savior or their doom. With a roar, he charged at Commander Cal, determined to protect those who had come to rely on him. The battle raged on, with Elias and Zara fighting for their very survival. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, they emerged victorious, their spirits renewed by the knowledge that they had stood against insurmountable odds and come out on top. In the aftermath of the fight, Elias found himself standing atop a hill overlooking the academy, his newfound power coursing through him like never before. He turned to Zara, who stood beside him, her expression serious as she gazed out at their conquered enemies. "What now?" she asked, her voice steady but filled with concern. Elias closed his eyes, feeling the Heartstone calling out to him once more. He knew that their journey was far from over, and that they would face many challenges in the days ahead. But he also knew that he could not falter now, not when so much hung in the balance. "We continue," he said finally, determination etched across his face. "We fight for humanity's future." In the heart of the ancient academy, Elias and Zara stood guard over the Heartstone chamber, its ethereal glow casting eerie shadows on their weary faces. The academy's hallowed halls were still shaken from the recent assault by Commander Cal and her soldiers, but they had managed to repel the attack with heavy losses on both sides. Their victory was bittersweet as they mourned the fallen and grappled with the weight of their newfound powers. Elias' transformation had escalated exponentially, causing him to struggle even more with controlling his abilities. Meanwhile, Zara's past continued to haunt her, making every battle a personal reminder of the life she left behind. The dimly lit chamber echoed with the whispers of their allies who huddled nearby, their faces etched with fear and exhaustion. Among them was Exila, her eyes filled with concern as she studied Elias' face. "You must rest," she said gently, her voice barely above a whisper. "The Heartstone calls to you, but it won't wait forever." Elias hesitated, looking down at the pulsating stone in front of him. He knew that he had to learn how to control his powers if they were to have any chance against Commander Cal and her ever-growing forces. "I can't rest," Elias said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We need to prepare for what comes next." Zara nodded, understanding the weight of their shared burden. "Then let us make our preparations," she said, drawing her blood-stained sword with a determined glint in her eye. Together, they began to strategize, consulting with their allies and making plans for the future. As the night wore on, the Academy's hallowed halls echoed with hushed whispers of impending doom, and the hope that they could still turn the tide against Commander Cal and her relentless pursuit of Elias' powers. The next morning, as the sun peeked through the ancient academy's towering stone windows, a sense of urgency filled the air. The battle for their survival was far from over, and they knew that they needed to act quickly if they were to have any chance at all. Elias stood alone in the chamber, his eyes closed as he focused on the Heartstone's call. His mind raced with thoughts of power and responsibility, but he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this journey than just saving humanity from the undead horde. As he opened his eyes, a sudden realization washed over him. The Heartstone was not just calling to him, it was speaking to him, revealing ancient secrets long forgotten by time. Elias felt a surge of energy course through him as he began to understand the true nature of his powers and the role he must play in ending this nightmare once and for all. With renewed determination, Elias returned to his allies and shared his discovery. Together, they prepared to face whatever trials lay ahead, ready to embrace their destiny and save humanity from the brink of extinction. However, they would soon learn that Commander Cal was not content with merely controlling Elias' powers. She sought to destroy him entirely. As darkness fell on the ancient academy once more, the stage was set for a climactic battle that would test their resolve and challenge everything they believed about themselves and their place in this world. The fate of humanity hung in the balance as Elias and his allies stood ready to face Commander Cal one last time. But little did they know, betrayal lurked among them, threatening to shatter the fragile bond that held them together and leave them vulnerable against the undead horde. As the battle raged on, Elias would be forced to confront his darkest fears and make choices that would forever change the course of history. The truth behind the apocalypse would finally be revealed, and he would have to decide whether to embrace the power within him or succumb to the darkness that threatened to consume them all. The ancient academy trembled under the weight of their impending doom, but Elias stood tall, ready to face whatever lay ahead. With Gila by his side and Zara at his back, they would fight for their lives and the future of humanity, determined to bring an end to this nightmare and find a way to live among the ruins of a world forever changed. The end was near, but hope still burned within them, fueling their resolve as they prepared to face the darkness that sought to claim them all. In the heart of the ancient academy, amidst the shattered remnants of a once great civilization, Elias and his allies would stand united against the forces that threatened to tear them apart, ready to take whatever steps were necessary to save humanity from the brink of oblivion. Abyssal ascendancy, the dimly lit chamber resonated with an eerie silence, the air thick with tension. The ancient academy's heartstone pulsed rhythmically, casting a ghostly glow across Elias and Zara as they stood guard over it. Their victory against Commander Kale had come at a price. Their allies were recovering from wounds both physical and emotional, while Elias grappled with the revelation about the heartstone's true nature. "We cannot rest," Elias said, breaking the silence. "Our enemies will not hesitate to strike again." Zara nodded, her eyes never leaving the door that led to the academy's hallowed halls. "I know," she replied. "But I wish we could have some peace, even for a little while." Elias glanced at her, his own thoughts tumbling through his mind like a storm. He knew that tranquility was impossible, not with Commander Kale's forces lurking in the shadows. Yet he couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for Zara. She had been through so much and still carried the weight of her past on her shoulders. As they stood guard, Elias felt a strange sensation coursing through him, a call from the Heartstone, beckoning to him. He hesitated, unsure if he should respond or ignore it. But as the pulsating glow grew stronger, he knew that he had no choice but to follow its allure. Taking a deep breath, Elias approached the Heartstone, his heart pounding in his chest. The pulsations increased exponentially as he drew near, enveloping him in a swirl of energy that threatened to overwhelm him. But he stood his ground, focusing on the connection between himself and the artifact. In a moment, Elias felt a flood of memories wash over him, memories of the Academy's history, its purpose, and its role in ending the apocalypse. He saw visions of people who had come before him, scholars and warriors who had fought to save humanity from extinction. And he understood, with a clarity that filled him with both terror and determination, the true nature of his destiny. "Elias," Zara's voice came to him through the haze, her concern evident in every word. "Are you all right?" He opened his eyes, the memories fading away as quickly as they had come. "I think so," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I need to tell you something." Zara moved closer, her expression concerned. Elias took a deep breath and shared with her what he had learned about the Heartstone and its role in ending the apocalypse. He spoke of the responsibility that rested on his shoulders, the sacrifices that would be required, and the darkness that threatened to consume him if he failed. "I cannot do this alone," he finished, looking into Zara's eyes. "I need you by my side." Zara looked at him for a long moment before nodding her head slowly. "Of course I will be with you," she said firmly. "We will face whatever challenges come our way together." Their bond strengthened. Elias and Zara stood ready to face the trials ahead, united in their determination to save humanity from the brink of extinction. But as they prepared for battle, a sense of unease settled upon them. For they knew that danger was never far away, and betrayal could strike at any moment. The twilight cast long shadows in the ancient academy's hallowed halls, a stark reminder of the impending battle that would soon unfold. The Heartstone pulsed softly within its chamber, its glow illuminating the dimly lit space with an ethereal light. Elias and Zara stood guard over the stone door etched with intricate carvings, their eyes never straying from the corridor beyond. They were well aware that Commander Kale's soldiers would not rest until they had claimed the Heartstone for themselves. "I still cannot believe she betrayed us," Elias muttered, his voice barely a whisper. She was supposed to be our ally." Zara nodded gravely, her expression hardened by the knowledge that they could no longer trust anyone but each other. "We must prepare for their attack. The Heartstone is vital not just to us, but to humanity's survival." As they spoke, a soft rustling sound echoed through the stone corridor, followed by a faint glimmer of light in the distance. A group of Commander Kale's soldiers emerged from the shadows, armed and ready for battle. "They won't make it past us," Elias said, his eyes narrowing as he stepped forward. He could feel the power coursing through him, a newfound strength that had grown stronger with each passing day. The cost of this power was a constant reminder of the darkness within him. The soldiers charged towards them, weapons raised, but Elias and Zara were ready. They fought ferociously, their every blow a testament to their determination to protect the Heartstone and the future of humanity. As they battled, Elias could sense something different about this fight. The power within him seemed to be growing, responding to the threat that loomed before them. He felt his transformation begin once more, as if he was evolving in response to the danger. The battle raged on, each blow striking sparks from the ancient stone walls. Elias and Zara fought side by side, their bond deepening with every passing moment. But even as they defended their newfound home and allies from Commander Kel's forces, an unease settled upon them. They knew that this was far from over. Finally, the last of Commander Kel's soldiers lay defeated at their feet, panting heavily. Elias looked to Zara, his eyes filled with a mix of relief and dread. "We must tell Chila what has happened," he said, his voice barely audible. "She may have answers about the Heartstone and our destiny." Abyssal ascendancy in the dimly lit chamber, Elias and Zara sat together, their minds racing with thoughts of betrayal and the implications of their discoveries. The Heartstone pulsed softly beneath them, its ethereal glow bathing the room in a gentle light. The weight of the ancient artifact seemed to grow heavier as they pondered its significance. Zara's eyes were closed, her fists clenched tightly as she tried to focus on the memories that had been revealed during their battle with Commander Cal and her forces. Elias studied her, taking in the determined set of her jaw and the fierce glint in her eyes. He felt a strange sense of kinship with this warrior woman who seemed so unlike him but shared his struggle for survival in this world. "Zara," he began, "I have been thinking about our journey and everything we've uncovered." He paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. "We must confront the truth about the Heartstone and the Academy. There are secrets here that could change everything." Zara opened her eyes, meeting Elias' gaze with a steady, unwavering stare. "I agree," she said quietly, "but we need to be careful. Commander Kale was not alone in her pursuit of the Heartstone. There may be others who seek its power for their own gain." Elias nodded, feeling a shiver run down his spine at the thought of more enemies lurking within the ancient Academy's hallowed halls. "I can sense it," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Something is coming. I don't know what or who, but I feel it." Zara stood up, her eyes narrowing as she looked around the chamber. "Then we need to be prepared. Gather your strength and prepare yourself for whatever may come. We cannot afford to be caught off guard again." Elias nodded, taking a deep breath and focusing on the power that surged through him. The transformation had become more frequent and intense since their arrival at the Academy, and he struggled to maintain control over it. But as he felt the energy coursing through his veins, he knew that this was not just a simple change. This was evolution. As Elias focused on his newfound power, Zara moved to the stone door etched with intricate carvings that marked the entrance to the chamber. She reached out and touched one of the runes, feeling a surge of energy pulse through her body. The door swung open, revealing a narrow corridor beyond. "What lies ahead?" Elias asked as they stepped into the passageway. Zara looked back at him, her expression determined. "Only time will tell," she said. "But I have a feeling that whatever awaits us there may hold the key to our survival." The corridor was dark and narrow, the walls covered in ancient carvings that seemed almost alive with energy. Elias could feel it pulsating beneath his feet, a tangible reminder of the power that lay within the Academy's Heartstone. As they moved deeper into the passageway, he could sense something lurking ahead, its presence growing stronger with each step they took. Finally, they arrived at a chamber bathed in an ethereal glow. The walls were lined with stone benches and shelves filled with ancient scrolls and artifacts. At the far end of the room stood another towering stone door, this one etched with runes that seemed to dance and shift as Elias watched. He approached the door cautiously, his senses alert for any signs of danger. As he reached out to touch the runes, he felt a sudden surge of energy coursing through him. The room filled with light as the door swung open, revealing another chamber beyond. This one was larger than the previous one, with a central stone pedestal that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Elias could sense that this was the source of the power that had been coursing through them both since they arrived at the Academy. As he approached the pedestal, he felt a strange connection to it, as if he had known it all his life. "What is this place?" Zara asked, her voice hushed as she looked around the chamber. Elias shook his head, unable to find words for what he was feeling. "I don't know," he said softly, "but I think it holds the key to our survival." As they stood before the pedestal, Elias felt a sudden shift within himself. The energy coursing through him grew stronger, more intense as he reached out and touched the stone. He could feel his body changing, evolving in response to the power that flowed from the Heartstone. Zara watched as Elias underwent another transformation, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe. "What is happening to you?" she asked. her voice barely above a whisper. Elias could only shake his head, feeling a strange sense of calm wash over him as the energy surged through him. He could feel himself growing stronger, more powerful than he had ever been before. And with that power came a newfound understanding of the world around him and the role he was meant to play in it. As Elias finished his transformation, he looked up at Zara, his eyes meeting hers as he spoke softly. I think I am ready, he said. Whatever comes next, I will face it with everything I have. Zara nodded, a determined look in her eyes. Then let's go, she said. Together, we will face whatever awaits us and find a way to save humanity from this apocalypse. And so, armed with newfound power and a determination that would not be swayed, Elias and Zara ventured deeper into the ancient academy, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. They knew that their journey would not be easy and that they would face many trials along the way, but they also knew that they were not alone, that together they could overcome anything that came their way. As they moved through the corridors of the ancient academy, Elias felt a strange sense of peace settle over him. He had faced darkness before, but he had always emerged stronger and wiser for it. This time would be no different, and as he looked at Zara, standing beside him with her fierce determination, he knew that they would face whatever came next together. Together, they would save humanity from the undead horde. Together, they would uncover the truth about the apocalypse and the role they were meant to play in it. And together, they would stand against the darkness and fight for a brighter future. For Elias knew that even in the face of overwhelming odds, there was always hope, and with hope, anything was possible. As they moved deeper into the ancient academy, Elias could feel the weight of the world pressing down upon him. But he also felt a strange sense of purpose, as if everything he had been through had led him to this moment. He knew that whatever awaited them, they would face it head-on and emerge victorious. For Elias was no longer just a man reborn as an insect. He was something more. He was a beacon of hope for humanity, a symbol of resistance against the darkness that threatened to consume their world. And with every step he took, he felt his power growing stronger, ready to be unleashed against the forces that sought to destroy everything they held dear. And so, armed with newfound power and a determination that would not be swayed, Elias and Zara ventured deeper into the ancient academy, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would save humanity from the undead horde. And together, they would uncover the truth about the apocalypse and the role they were meant to play in it. But little did Elias know that their journey was far from over. The ancient academy held many secrets, and the darkness that threatened them all was closer than they could imagine. As he walked through its hallowed halls, he felt a sense of foreboding wash over him. He knew that whatever awaited them would test them to their limits and beyond. But Elias also knew that he was not alone. He had Zara by his side, a fierce warrior who shared his determination to survive and save humanity. And together they would face whatever challenges came their way. For in the darkest of times, hope still burned brightly, guiding them towards a brighter future. As they ventured deeper into the ancient academy, Elias could feel weight of the world pressing down upon him. But he also felt a strange sense of purpose, as if everything he had been through had led him to this moment. He knew that whatever awaited them, they would face it head-on and emerge victorious. For Elias was no longer just a man reborn as an insect. He was something more. He was a beacon of hope for humanity, a symbol of resistance against the darkness that threatened to consume their world. And with every step he took, he felt his power growing stronger, ready to be unleashed against the forces that sought to destroy everything they held dear. And so, armed with newfound power and a determination that would not be swayed, Elias and Zara ventured deeper into the ancient academy, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would save humanity from the undead horde. And together, they would uncover the truth about the apocalypse and the role they were meant to play in it. But little did Elias know that their journey was far from over. The ancient academy held many secrets, and the darkness that threatened them all was closer than they could imagine. As he walked through its hallowed halls, he felt a sense of foreboding wash over him. He knew that whatever awaited them would test them to their limits and beyond. The ancient academy's hallowed halls echoed with the distant clatter of armor and the urgent whispers of students preparing for battle. Elias stood atop a hill, gazing out upon the dimly lit corridor that led to the academy's heart. A sense of unease coursed through him as he felt his newfound power surging within him. "We can't stay here much longer," Zara said, her voice barely audible above the murmurs of their fellow students. "Commander Cal and her soldiers are closing in." Elias nodded solemnly, knowing that they must find the Heartstone before it was too late. As he began to descend the hill, a shiver ran down his spine as he felt an invisible presence watching him from the shadows. He turned, but there was nothing there save for the flickering torchlight. "Something's not right," Elias murmured, his gaze darting back and forth as they ventured deeper into the academy. "I can feel it." Zara tightened her grip on her blood-stained sword, her eyes scanning their surroundings warily. "We need to focus on finding the Heartstone," she said. "We can't let Commander Cal capture it or worse, use it against us." As they ventured through the dimly lit corridor, Elias felt his power surging within him. He could feel its potential, but it also brought a sense of dread. He had no idea what this newfound power meant for his future or the fate of humanity. "Elias," Zara whispered, drawing his attention to a chamber bathed in an ethereal glow ahead. "I think that's where the Heartstone is." He took a deep breath and stepped forward, feeling his heart pounding in his chest as they approached the chamber. The air grew thick with anticipation, and Elias could feel the power within him swirling, threatening to break free. "Are you ready?" Zara asked, her voice barely audible above the pulsating hum that filled the room. Elias closed his eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath, then nodded. "Yes," he said, opening his eyes and stepping into the chamber. The chamber was unlike anything they had ever seen before. It was bathed in an ethereal glow, and at its center stood a massive stone door etched with intricate carvings depicting scenes of transformation, battle, and sacrifice. Elias could feel his power surging within him, and he knew that the Heartstone lay beyond that door. As they approached the door, it swung open on its own, revealing the chamber's true purpose. At its center stood a stone pedestal, upon which rested the Heartstone, an artifact of immense power, said to be the key to ending the undead threat and saving humanity. Elias could feel his heart racing as he gazed upon the Heartstone. He knew that it was their only hope for defeating the undead horde and securing a future for humanity. But he also knew that Commander Cal would stop at nothing to obtain it, and he feared she would do whatever it took to claim it for herself. As Elias reached out to touch the Heartstone, he felt his power surging within him once more, threatening to overwhelm him. He closed his eyes, feeling a wave of memories wash over him, visions of battles fought, lives lost, and sacrifices made in the name of humanity's survival. He could feel Zara's presence beside him, her hand gripping his shoulder as he struggled to maintain control of his newfound power. "You can do this," she whispered. "We need you to." Elias took a deep breath and opened his eyes, his gaze locked onto the Heartstone. He could feel its power coursing through him, binding them together in a way he had never experienced before. As he reached out to touch it, he felt a surge of energy ripple through him, and he knew that this was the moment they had been working towards all along. With Zara by his side, Elias took a deep breath and embraced the power within him. He could feel the Heartstone's essence coursing through him, filling him with a sense of purpose and determination. Together, they would defeat the undead horde and save humanity from impending doom. Abyssal Ascendancy, Elias and Zara stand before the stone door etched with intricate carvings, feeling its ancient power. They take a deep breath, ready themselves, and push forward into the chamber bathed in an ethereal glow. The air is thick with anticipation as they enter the Academy's hallowed halls. Elias' heart races as he feels his connection to the Heartstone growing stronger with every step. The carvings on the walls seem to dance, whispering secrets that only he can hear. "I feel it," Zara murmurs, her voice barely audible over the hum of power filling the chamber. The Heartstone is near. They follow the ethereal glow deeper into the Academy, until they reach another chamber bathed in an even stronger light. In the center stands a stone pedestal, upon which lies the Heartstone. Elias' eyes widen as he gazes at the pulsating gem. His newfound power surges within him, threatening to overwhelm him. "Elias, be careful," Zara warns, reaching out to steady him. "We must control this power if we are to succeed." The Heartstone calls to Elias, a siren song that fills him with both fear and excitement. He steps closer, feeling the stone's power coursing through his veins. As he reaches out to touch it, Zara grabs his arm, her expression a mix of concern and determination. "We must do this together," she says firmly. "You cannot face this alone." Elias nods, feeling the weight of their shared responsibility press down on him. He takes a deep breath, closes his eyes, and reaches out to touch the Heartstone. A surge of energy courses through both Elias and Zara as they bind together in a display of power that shakes the ancient Academy's hallowed halls. Meanwhile, Commander Cal stands atop a hill overlooking the Academy, her eyes narrowed as she watches the spectacle unfold within. She clenches her fists, her mind racing with thoughts of how to claim the Heartstone for herself and use its power to control humanity. "My soldiers," she calls out, her voice echoing across the land. "Prepare for battle. We march on the Academy." As Commander Cal's forces gather around her, Elias and Zara feel a sudden sense of urgency. The Heartstone's power has alerted them to an impending threat. They must defend their newfound home and allies from Commander Cal's assault. The battle that follows is fierce and brutal. Elias and Zara use their combined powers to hold off the attackers, their every move a testament to their determination to protect the Heartstone and the Academy. But as the fight rages on, they begin to feel the strain of their newfound abilities. In the midst of the chaos, Commander Cal breaks free from her soldiers and charges towards Elias and Zara. She wields a blood-stained sword that hums with dark energy. Elias and Zara stand their ground, determined not to let her claim the Heartstone for herself. "You underestimate my power," Commander Cal sneers, her eyes gleaming with malice as she lunges at Elias. Elias and Zara fight back with everything they have, their newfound powers surging within them as they struggle to keep Commander Cal at bay. But even as they defend themselves, they feel a growing sense of unease. They are beginning to understand the true nature of the Heartstone and its connection to the apocalypse. As the battle reaches its climax, Elias and Zara make a crucial discovery. The Heartstone's power is not meant for one person alone. It requires balance and harmony between two beings to wield it effectively. With this newfound knowledge, they join their powers together once more, creating a blast of energy that sends Commander Cal flying back. The battle is won, but at a great cost. Elias and Zara are both exhausted, their bodies battered and bruised from the fight. But they have achieved what they came for, the Heartstone. As they stand before it, they feel a strange connection, as if the stone is whispering secrets to them about the apocalypse and the role they must play in ending it. With Commander Cal defeated and their newfound home secure, Elias and Zara prepare to face whatever challenges lie ahead, but they know that their journey has only just begun. The true test of their powers lies not in battles against foes, but in understanding the heart of the Heartstone and the fate it holds for humanity. In the dimly lit chamber, Elias stood with his heart racing as he held the Heartstone tightly in both hands. A feeling of immense power coursed through him, and he could sense Zara's presence nearby. The chamber was bathed in an ethereal glow, casting eerie shadows on the stone walls and floor. "We did it," Elias said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We have the Heartstone." Zara approached him cautiously, her eyes scanning the dimly lit space warily. "Yes, we did. But now what?" she asked, her voice tinged with apprehension. Elias shook his head, still feeling the weight of the Heartstone's power. "I don't know. I feel like this is only the beginning." As they stood there, they heard the distant sound of footsteps approaching. Elias tensed, knowing it could only mean one thing: Commander Cal was coming for them. "We need to get out of here," Zara said urgently. "She'll stop at nothing to take that stone from us." Together, they moved quickly through the dimly lit corridor, their hearts pounding in their chests as they tried to evade Commander Cal and her soldiers. They knew they couldn't stay hidden for long, and that soon they would have to face her head-on. They reached another chamber, this one bathed in an ethereal glow. In the center stood a towering stone door etched with intricate carvings. Elias felt a strange sense of recognition as he looked at the door, but he couldn't place it. Zara grabbed his arm, pulling him towards the door. "This is it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The Academy's hard chamber." Elias nodded, feeling a surge of determination wash over him. They were close to finding answers about the apocalypse and humanity's fate, and he wouldn't let Commander Cal stand in their way. Together, they stepped through the stone door, entering a chamber bathed in an ethereal glow. In the center stood the Heartstone, pulsating with power. Elias felt his connection to it grow stronger, and he could sense that it was calling out to him. "We have to do this," Zara said, her voice steady and determined. "We need to claim this stone and use its power to save humanity." Elias nodded, knowing that she was right. He took a deep breath, focusing on the Heartstone's power coursing through him as he reached out towards it. As he did so, he felt something snap inside of him, a connection that he couldn't ignore. Suddenly, Commander Cal burst into the chamber, her eyes locked on the Heartstone. She sneered at Elias and Zara, her voice filled with malice. "You won't get far," she said, drawing her blood-stained sword. "I'll take that stone from you, and I'll use it to conquer this world." Elias felt a surge of anger as he looked at Commander Cal, knowing that she was a threat not only to him but to the fate of humanity itself. He felt the Heartstone call out to him again, urging him to protect it and its secrets. "You'll have to go through us first," Zara said, stepping in front of Elias protectively. "We won't let you take that stone without a fight." Commander Cal sneered at them once more before lunging forward with her sword. Elias and Zara stood their ground, their newfound powers surging through them as they prepared to defend the Heartstone and each other. As the battle raged on, Elias felt his connection to the Heartstone grow stronger. He could sense its secrets about the apocalypse and humanity's fate, but he couldn't quite make out what it was trying to tell him. He fought against Commander Cal and her soldiers with everything he had, knowing that this battle would determine the fate of not only himself and Zara but the entire world. In the end, they emerged victorious, their bodies battered and bruised, but their spirits unbroken. They had claimed the Heartstone and its secrets for themselves, knowing that they now held the key to saving humanity from the undead horde. Abyssal Ascendancy, in the hallowed halls of the ancient academy, Elias and Zara stood guard over the Heartstone as the remnants of humanity sought refuge within its walls. The stone door etched with intricate carvings was flanked by two massive statues that seemed to loom ominously in the dimly lit space. Elias clutched the blood-stained sword, his heart pounding as he felt the Heartstone's power surging through him. He looked up at the stone door, sensing a connection with the ancient academy and the knowledge it held. The swirling energy coursing through him seemed to beckon him towards it. Zara stood by his side, her eyes never leaving the corridor beyond the door. She knew that danger lurked outside their sanctuary and was determined to protect Elias and the Heartstone at all costs. As they stood watch over the academy's heart, a sudden commotion echoed through the halls. Zara tensed, her senses alert as she sensed Commander Cal and her soldiers approaching. "We must prepare for battle," she whispered to Elias, drawing her sword. "I will hold them off while you seek refuge in another chamber." Elias nodded, gripping the blood-stained sword tightly. He could feel the power coursing through him, but he was unsure if he was ready to face Commander Cal again. As he ventured deeper into the Academy's hallowed halls, he felt an urge to explore and learn more about the ancient Academy and his newfound powers. The corridors seemed to twist and turn on themselves as Elias made his way through the dimly lit space. He could sense the Heartstone's power growing stronger within him, guiding him towards another chamber bathed in an ethereal glow. As he entered the room, he found himself face to face with a mysterious woman who introduced herself as Scylla. Her eyes seemed to pierce his soul as she spoke of the truth behind the apocalypse and Elias' role in ending it. Elias listened intently as Scylla revealed that he was part of a larger plan involving the ancient academy and the Heartstone. She explained that the Academy's purpose was to prepare individuals like him for the coming battle against the undead horde, and that he had been chosen to wield the ultimate weapon in humanity's fight for survival. As Elias absorbed this new information, his mind raced with questions and doubts. He felt a strange connection to Xyla, but was unsure if she could be trusted. Despite his reservations, he knew that he couldn't ignore the truth any longer. Back in the Academy's Heartstone chamber, Zara fought valiantly against Commander Cal and her soldiers. Her sword flashed through the air as she parried blow after blow, determined to protect Elias and the Heartstone at all costs. As the battle raged on, Elias made his way back towards the chamber, feeling the power of the Heartstone coursing through him. He could sense that Commander Cal was growing more desperate in her attempts to control the artifact and its power. Elias knew that he had to act quickly if he wanted to save Zara and the Academy's inhabitants from Commander Cal's wrath. As he burst into the chamber, he felt a surge of newfound strength coursing through him, and he knew that it was time for him to take a stand against Commander Cal once and for all. The battle between Elias and Commander Cal was fierce, as each fighter sought to claim control over the Heartstone's power. Elias felt his body changing, transforming into a more powerful form as he harnessed the artifact's energy within him. Finally, with a cry of defiance, Elias struck Commander Cal down, sending her crashing to the ground. Zara rushed over to him, her eyes wide with shock and relief. As they stood in the now silent chamber, Elias felt a newfound sense of purpose coursing through him. He knew that he had come to the ancient academy for a reason, and that he was destined to play a crucial role in humanity's fight against the undead horde. With Zara by his side, Elias left the Heartstone chamber and ventured deeper into the ancient academy, determined to learn as much as he could about himself and the fate of humanity. He knew that the road ahead would be long and fraught with danger, but he was ready to face whatever challenges lay before him. As they made their way through the Academy's hallowed halls, Elias felt a growing sense of connection to the ancient institution and its purpose. He could feel the power of the Heartstone coursing through him, guiding him towards the answers he sought. Elias and Zara stood over Commander Cal's lifeless form, her blood-stained sword in hand. The Heartstone chamber pulsed with energy, the air crackling around them as if the ancient academy was responding to their victory. "We did it," Elias murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "We saved humanity." Zara's eyes narrowed, a hint of sadness flickering across her face before she replaced it with a fierce determination. "Not yet," she replied. "We must continue to explore the academy and learn what we can from its wisdom." As they left the Heartstone chamber, Elias could feel the weight of his newfound power coursing through him. It was unlike anything he had ever experienced before, a raw, primal energy that seemed to resonate with every fiber of his being. He had a feeling it would be essential in their fight against the undead horde. The Academy's hallowed halls stretched out before them, a labyrinth of corridors and chambers bathed in an ethereal glow. Elias could sense that there were secrets hidden within these ancient walls, secrets that could hold the key to ending the apocalypse once and for all. They ventured deeper into the Academy, their journey taking them through dimly lit corridors and chambers. Every step seemed to bring with it a new challenge, from navigating unfamiliar terrain to confronting remnants of Commander Kale's forces that still held out within the Academy walls. In one chamber, they found themselves face to face with a massive beast, a twisted amalgamation of bone and flesh that towered over them. Its eyes glowed with an unearthly light, and its roar shook the very ground beneath their feet. Zara moved swiftly, her sword flashing through the air as she engaged the creature in combat. Elias watched in awe as she fought with a skill and ferocity that belied her past. It was clear that she had faced many such beasts before and survived. As they battled, Elias could feel his power growing stronger within him. He knew that he needed to learn how to control it if he wanted to survive this journey and save humanity from the undead horde. With each passing moment, he felt a newfound determination coursing through him. He would do whatever it took to ensure their survival. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they emerged victorious. The beast lay defeated at their feet, its body twitching in its final moments. Zara and Elias stood over it, panting heavily as they surveyed the carnage around them. "We are making progress," Zara said, her voice filled with determination, "but we cannot rest on our laurels. The Academy still holds many secrets that could help us end this apocalypse for good." Elias nodded in agreement. He knew that their journey was far from over, but he also knew that they were one step closer to understanding the truth behind the apocalypse and his destiny. With each challenge they faced and conquered, he felt a deeper connection to this ancient academy and its wisdom, a connection that would guide them through the trials ahead. As they continued their exploration of the academy, Elias could feel a sense of purpose growing within him. He knew that he was destined for greatness, and with Zara by his side, he felt unstoppable. The undead horde might have taken everything from them, but it would not take their hope, their determination to survive and reclaim what had been lost. Abyssal ascendancy in the dimly lit corridors of the ancient academy, Elias and Zara walked in silence, their footsteps echoing off the cold stone walls. The power that coursed through Elias was like nothing he had ever felt before, a raw energy that seemed to beckon him towards the Heartstone chamber. Suddenly they heard the clatter of armor and the sound of boots against the stone floor, growing louder as it approached. They turned to find themselves face to face with Commander Kal and her soldiers, their weapons at the ready. "You have no idea what you're messing with," Commander Kal hissed, her eyes blazing with anger. "I will not let you control this power." Zara stepped protectively in front of Elias, her blood-stained sword held firmly in her hand. "You don't get to decide what happens here. We fought to save humanity, and we won't back down now." The soldiers advanced, their weapons at the ready. The air grew tense as they locked eyes with one another, the tension between them palpable. Elias felt a newfound power coursing through him, his senses heightened as he prepared for battle. As they fought, Elias struggled to control this newfound strength, unsure of its limits and how it would affect his body. With each strike, he felt the energy within him grow stronger, pulsating against his skin like a living entity. He could sense the power coursing through Zara as well, her skill on the battlefield evident in every strike she made. Despite their best efforts, Commander Kale's soldiers were no match for them. As they fell one by one, Elias and Zara continued to push forward, determined to protect what they had fought so hard to reclaim. With each passing moment, Elias felt his power growing stronger, the energy within him seemingly feeding on the chaos of the battle. He could sense that this was only the beginning, that there were secrets hidden within the academy's walls that could change everything. Finally, Commander Kal herself fell, her body crumpling to the floor as Zara delivered the final blow with a cry of victory. As they caught their breath and looked around at the carnage left behind, Elias couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. He knew that this was only the beginning, that there were forces at work beyond anything he could imagine. He couldn't shake the feeling that the true battle was yet to come, and that they would need every ounce of strength they could muster to face it. As they left the battleground behind them, Elias couldn't help but wonder what lay in wait for them within the ancient academy's hallowed halls. He knew that the road ahead was long and fraught with danger, but he also knew that he had a purpose, a destiny that he could not ignore. With Zara by his side, he would face whatever challenges came their way, determined to save humanity from the impending apocalypse. But as they delved deeper into the academy's secrets, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story than he could even imagine. In the hollowed halls of the ancient academy, Elias and Zara stood guard over their newfound home and allies from the approaching dangers. The dimly lit corridors echoed with the weight of history, the air heavy with anticipation. As they walked through the corridors, Elias could feel his power growing stronger within him, each step taking them deeper into the heart of the academy. The chamber bathed in an ethereal glow caught their attention, its pulsating light drawing them closer like moths to a flame. Inside, a stone door etched with intricate carvings stood before them. Elias' senses tingled as he approached, the power coursing through him, whispering secrets about what lay beyond. Zara stepped forward, her eyes filled with determination. "We must enter," she said, her voice barely audible. "This may be our key to understanding the true nature of this place and unlocking your potential." Elias hesitated, sensing a foreboding presence lurking within the chamber beyond the stone door. His instinct screamed at him to turn back, but he knew that running from the unknown would only lead them further into darkness. Taking a deep breath, he nodded, ready to face whatever awaited them on the other side. As they crossed the threshold, the dimly lit space seemed to close in around them, the ethereal glow casting eerie shadows across the chamber walls. In the center of the room stood an enormous stone pedestal, upon which rested the Heartstone, a pulsating orb that seemed to hum with untold power. Elias felt his heart race as he approached the Heartstone, his newfound powers surging within him like a tempest unleashed. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the cold, smooth surface of the stone. As he touched it, a surge of energy coursed through him, filling him with a sense of clarity and understanding that he had never experienced before. Suddenly, the chamber's walls seemed to shimmer, as if they were being pulled apart by unseen forces. The once dimly lit space was now bathed in an ethereal glow, revealing another chamber beyond. Elias knew instinctively that this was the Heartstone Chamber, a place where the Academy's most powerful transformations took place. As he looked at Zara, he could see the fear and uncertainty etched upon her face. "We must go," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "We cannot stay here any longer." Elias nodded, his newfound power surging through him like a raging river. He turned to face the chamber's entrance, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them on the other side. As they stepped into the dimly lit corridor beyond, Elias sensed a presence lurking in the shadows, a malevolent force that seemed to be watching their every move. He knew that this was only the beginning and that the true battle for the fate of humanity had just begun. With Zara by his side, he steeled himself for whatever lay ahead, determined to protect what they had reclaimed and unlock the secrets hidden within the ancient academy's walls. Abyssal ascendancy, the ancient academy's hallowed halls echoed with the weight of secrets as Elias and Zara ventured deeper into its depths. A dimly lit corridor stretched before them, its walls adorned with intricate carvings that whispered of power untold. They approached a chamber bathed in an ethereal glow, their footsteps echoing off the stone floor. "This place is unlike anything I've ever seen," Zara said, her voice barely audible over the pulsating light that filled the room. "What do you think it holds?" Elias hesitated, his newfound powers still unstable and overwhelming. He could feel the power in the air, a palpable force that seemed to resonate with his own. "I cannot say for certain," he replied, "but I sense change." Inside the chamber, an enormous stone pedestal stood before a towering statue of a serpentine creature. The Heartstone rested within its claws, radiating power. Elias approached cautiously, sensing a malevolent presence lurking behind the artifact. As he reached out to touch the Heartstone, Zara's voice stopped him. "Elias, wait," she warned, her gaze fixed on the chamber's entrance as a group of figures emerged from the shadows. Commander Kale stood at their head, her soldiers following in her wake. Her eyes burned with malice, and she locked onto Elias with a cold, calculating stare. "Elias," she spat, "I have come to claim what is rightfully mine." A battle ensued as the chamber's power surged around them. The walls shook with each blow, and the air crackled with magic. Zara fought alongside Elias, her warrior skills honed by years of survival in this world. Yet Commander Kale was relentless, her soldiers closing in on their positions. Elias struggled to maintain control over his powers, feeling them lash out in a chaotic display of raw energy that threatened to consume him. As he fought, he felt the presence within the Heartstone grow stronger, urging him to surrender and give in to its call. In the midst of battle, Xyla appeared, her presence both comforting and ominous. "Elias," she called out, breaking through Commander Kale's defenses with a wave of her hand. "You must not let this power consume you." Xyla revealed the truth about the apocalypse, explaining that Elias was destined to play a crucial role in ending it. As she spoke, Elias felt the malevolent presence within the Heartstone recede, replaced by a sense of purpose and determination. With renewed strength, Elias focused on his powers, channeling them into a devastating attack that sent Commander Kale's soldiers reeling. She retreated, her defeat clear as she disappeared into the darkness from whence she came. As dawn broke upon the Academy's hallowed halls, a sense of urgency filled the air. The group had narrowly defeated Commander Kale, but knew that her forces would regroup and come again. LAS struggled with his newfound powers, unsure if he could control them to protect his allies and humanity. Zara stood guard atop the hill, her eyes scanning the horizon for any signs of movement. Her past weighed heavily upon her, yet she refused to let it consume her. She focused on their mission, determined to become the ultimate beast and survive the Academy's trials. Inside the dimly lit corridors, Commander Kale paced back and forth, plotting her next move against LAS. Her ambition burned within her as she clenched the blood-stained sword tightly in her hand. She knew that LAS was a powerful asset, one she couldn't afford to lose, but she also craved power for its own sake. Zyla stood before an enormous stone door etched with intricate carvings, sensing a great power on the other side. She whispered words of encouragement to Elias, her eyes filled with wisdom and compassion. "You must embrace your destiny, Elias," she said softly. "The fate of humanity rests upon your shoulders." Elias stood at the chamber's threshold, his heart pounding in his chest. He took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The chamber bathed in an ethereal glow revealed yet another room filled with strange artifacts and pulsating energy. A sense of awe and fear washed over him as he stepped inside. The group gathered around, their eyes wide with wonder. As they explored the room, they found various transformations underway among the students, some struggling to maintain control while others reveled in their newfound powers. The air was thick with tension and anticipation. Zara approached a student who was having trouble controlling his transformation, sensing an opportunity to test her own abilities. She stepped forward, ready to help, when Elias intervened. "Let me handle this," he said firmly. Zara hesitated, but she could see the determination in his eyes. Elias moved closer to the student, his insectoid glowing with power. He extended a hand towards the student, focusing on the connection between them. The student's transformation stalled, and Elias managed to help him regain control. Zara watched with admiration as her newfound ally displayed his growing powers. Meanwhile, Commander Kale's forces gathered outside the Academy's walls, preparing for another assault on the ancient halls. As they marched towards the Academy, she whispered to herself, "He will be mine, soon." Inside the chamber, Elias turned to Xyla with a newfound sense of purpose. "I can feel it," he said, his voice filled with determination. "The power within me is growing stronger. I'm ready to face whatever comes next." Xyla smiled warmly at him, her eyes shining with pride and hope. "Then let us continue our journey, Elias," she said gently. "Together, we will uncover the truth about this apocalypse and ensure humanity's survival." Abyssal ascendancy in a dimly lit corridor, Elias struggled to maintain control of his powers as he walked with Xyla and Zara. The weight of his newfound abilities weighed heavily on him, and the memory of his past life haunted him constantly. "Are you all right?" Xyla asked, her eyes filled with concern. "I can sense your turmoil." Elias hesitated before responding. "I don't know. It's like a storm inside me. I can't even begin to fathom what I am becoming." Zara turned to look at Elias. "We all go through transformations, Elias. Yours may be more difficult than most, but we are here to help you. And together, we will become the ultimate beings that can save humanity from this apocalypse." As they continued through the ancient Academy's hallowed halls, their footsteps echoed in the dimly lit corridors. They approached a stone door etched with intricate carvings, and Elias could feel the power within calling to him. He hesitated for a moment before stepping forward to touch it. An ethereal glow enveloped them as they entered, revealing another chamber bathed in an eerie light. In the center stood an enormous stone pedestal with the heartstone atop it. Elias approached cautiously, his heart racing as he reached out to touch the heartstone. As his fingers brushed against the glowing stone, a jolt of energy coursed through him, and he fell to his knees. Xyla and Zara rushed to his side, their faces filled with worry. Elias could feel his powers surging within him like never before, threatening to overwhelm him entirely. "Elias," Zara shouted, trying to help him regain control. "What is happening to you?" Xyla looked at the heartstone, her eyes widening as she realized something. "This power, it's too much for him. We need to find a way to control it before it consumes him." In another chamber, Commander Kale stood before a map of the Academy, studying it intently. Her soldiers gathered around her, waiting for orders. She was close to discovering Elias' location and capturing him once and for all. "Prepare for an immediate assault on the ancient Academy," she commanded. "I want every soldier ready to move out at a moment's notice." Her soldiers saluted and dispersed, scurrying off to prepare for battle. Commander Cal smiled coldly, knowing that Elias would soon be hers. She would use his power to dominate the remnants of humanity and bring order to this chaotic world. Back in the chamber with the Heartstone, Elias struggled to regain control over his powers. Zyla and Zara watched anxiously as he convulsed on the ground, the power within him threatening to tear him apart. "We need help," Zyla whispered to Zara. "I don't think we can handle this on our own." Zara nodded, her face set in determination. "Then it's time we sought out those who might be able to help us. We cannot allow Commander Kel to capture Elias and use his power for her own gain." With newfound resolve, Zara grabbed Elias' hand and pulled him to his feet. Together, they left the chamber and ventured deeper into the ancient academy, seeking out allies who could help them control Elias' powers before it was too late. As they traveled through dimly lit corridors and chambers, they knew that time was running out. Commander Kale would soon attack the academy, and they needed to find a way to stop her before she could capture Elias and harness his power for her own nefarious purposes. The dimly lit corridor stretched before them like a yawning maw, its walls slick with age and the remnants of countless secrets long buried. Zyla's eyes flickered with determination as she led Elias and Zara deeper into the ancient academy, the weight of the Heartstone heavy in her grasp. "This is it," Zara whispered, her voice barely audible over the beating of her heart. The Heartstone chamber. Elias' eyes widened, his mind racing with memories and visions that threatened to overwhelm him. The power coursing through him was immense, a torrent of raw energy he could scarcely contain. He felt the weight of his newfound abilities bearing down upon him, each step they took bringing them closer to what would surely be their doom. Their journey had not been an easy one. They had faced countless trials and challenges, battles against both the undead horde and the remnants of humanity who sought to control Elias' power for their own gain. Commander Cal, a ruthless military leader, was at the forefront of these relentless pursuers, her forces ever present on their heels as they navigated the ancient academy's hallowed halls. As they approached the chamber, Xyla's eyes narrowed. "We must be careful," she warned, her voice low and urgent. "The Heartstone is the key to unlocking Elias' true potential, but also a beacon for those who would seek to exploit him." Zara nodded grimly, her blood-stained sword clutched tightly in her hand. "We will protect him with our lives," she vowed, her voice echoing through the dim corridor. The Heartstone chamber loomed before them, bathed in an eerie light that seemed to pulse with life. As they stepped inside, Elias could feel the power of the artifact resonating within him, a tangible presence that seemed to hum with potential. He took a deep breath, his heart pounding as he prepared himself for what was to come. Zyla approached the enormous stone pedestal at the center of the chamber, her eyes never leaving Elias. With reverence, she placed the Heartstone upon its resting place, and the air seemed to crackle with energy as it connected with the artifact. A surge of power washed over Elias, a tidal wave of energy that threatened to consume him whole. He stumbled, his legs buckling beneath him as he fought to maintain control over the raw power coursing through him. Zyla and Zara moved quickly, wrapping their arms around him, steadying him as he struggled against the onslaught. "Breathe," Zyla whispered urgently, her voice barely audible above the storm of energy that seemed to fill the chamber. "Focus, Elias." Elias took a deep breath, his eyes closing as he focused on the power coursing through him, channeling it into something more manageable. Slowly, he felt the wave begin to recede, the raw energy coalescing into something more controlled, something he could harness for his own purposes. As the storm subsided, Elias opened his eyes, staring at the Heartstone in awe. He could feel the power coursing through him like a living force, a wellspring of energy that seemed to be a part of him now. He took another deep breath, feeling the weight of his newfound abilities bearing down upon him. "You did it," said, her voice thick with emotion. "You've done it, Elias." Elias nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "We have to be cautious," he warned, his eyes never leaving the Heartstone. "The power I now possess is immense, and it will attract those who seek to use it for their own gain." Zyla's eyes flickered with determination. "Then we must be ready," she said firmly. "We have faced many challenges on our journey thus far, but this may prove to be the greatest yet." As they left the Heartstone chamber, they could feel the weight of Commander forces bearing down upon them. They knew that their time was short, and they had much work ahead of them if they were to save humanity from the impending apocalypse. But as they stood together on the top of the hill, the dimly lit space stretching out before them like a vast, empty canvas, Elias felt a newfound resolve stir within him. He would not allow Commander Cal or any other to control his power. He would harness it for the greater good and bring an end to the undead horde that threatened to consume the world, and with Xyla and Zara by his side, he knew that they could face any challenge that came their way. As the sun set over the ancient academy, casting long shadows across the landscape, Elias looked out at the world before him, his eyes filled with determination. He would not rest until the apocalypse had been averted and humanity was safe once more. The journey ahead would be long and fraught with danger, but he knew that he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Abyssal Ascendancy Elias found himself standing before the enormous stone door etched with intricate carvings atop the hill. His newfound power coursed through him, a constant reminder of the danger he posed to those around him. Zara and Exila stood by his side, their resolve unwavering as they faced Commander Cal's forces. "We must hurry," Exila urged, glanced towards the dimly lit corridors behind them. "The academy is not safe." Elias nodded, feeling a surge of fear and determination well up within him. He knew the time had come for him to face his destiny. As they ventured deeper into the ancient academy's hallowed halls, he couldn't help but feel like he was being drawn towards something sinister lurking in its depths. They passed through another chamber bathed in an eerie light, the walls covered in strange symbols and runes. The air was thick with tension as they made their way to the Heartstone chamber. As they approached, Elias felt a sudden shift within him, his powers surging once more. He clenched his fists, trying to control it. "Elias," Zyla whispered, placing a comforting hand on his arm. "We'll get through this together." A dimly lit corridor lay before them, the walls covered in shadows that seemed to twist and writhe as they moved closer. Elias felt a chill run down his spine, but he refused to show weakness. He took a deep breath, his eyes locked onto the stone door at the end of the corridor. As they stepped into the dimly lit chamber, they were met with an enormous stone pedestal at its center, upon which rested the Heartstone. Elias' heart raced as he approached it, feeling the power coursing through him. He reached out a trembling hand towards the artifact. "No," Xyla cried out, grabbing his arm. "We must be careful." But it was too late. As soon as Elias touched the Heartstone, an immense surge of energy shot through him, threatening to consume them all. Zara and Xyla stumbled back, their eyes wide with fear as Elias convulsed on the ground, overcome by the power within him. The chamber shook violently, echoing with a deafening roar. Elias felt himself being torn apart from the inside, his body writhing in agony as the power threatened to consume him. But then, something shifted. He felt a sudden calm wash over him, like a gentle wave easing him towards the shore. He opened his eyes, feeling the power within him become a part of him, no longer threatening but now a source of strength. Zyla and Zara rushed to his side, their faces filled with relief and awe as they looked upon Elias' transformation. He stood before them, a being of immense power, ready to face whatever lay ahead. But even as he basked in the glory of his newfound abilities, he knew that this was just the beginning. Commander Cal's forces were closing in, and the battle for the academy would soon begin. Elias, Exila, and Zara stood together, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would fight for humanity's survival. The time had come for them to ascend to a new level of power and face the darkness that threatened their world. The apocalypse was here, but they refused to go down without a fight. The dimly lit corridors echoed with the clatter of armored feet and the hiss of steel swords being drawn. Elias stood up a hill overlooking an enormous stone door etched with intricate carvings. He felt the power surging within him, threatening to burst free. "We have no choice but to confront Commander Cal," Zyla said, her voice steady despite the impending danger. "If we don't stop her now, she will use your powers to enslave humanity." Elias nodded, feeling a sense of determination growing within him. He knew he was not just fighting for himself, but for all of humanity. As they descended into the ancient academy's hallowed halls, a sudden rumble echoed through the stone, signaling Commander Cal and her soldiers were upon them. Inside the dimly lit chamber, Elias, Xyla, and Zara found themselves surrounded by a sea of armored figures. A woman, clad in gleaming armor, stepped forward, her eyes locked on Elias. Commander Cal sneered, "I knew you would come to me eventually." Elias' heart raced as he stood his ground, feeling the power within him swelling. Xyla moved closer, whispering words of encouragement as Zara prepared for battle. The tension in the air was palpable, and Elias could feel the weight of both their hopes and fears resting on his shoulders. "You think I will let you take control of my powers?" Elias asked, his voice resonating through the chamber. "I will not allow you to use me as a weapon against humanity." Commander Cal's eyes narrowed, her lips curling into a sinister smile. "Then we have no choice but to fight," she replied, drawing her blood-stained sword with an ominous clang. The battle that followed was fierce and brutal. Elias, Xyla, and Zara fought with every ounce of strength they possessed, determined to defend their newfound home and allies from Commander Cal's forces. Each blow landed with a resounding impact, shaking the very foundations of the academy. As the battle raged on, Elias felt his power growing, surging within him like a tempest. He could feel it begging to be unleashed, promising destruction and salvation in equal measure. But as he struggled for control, he found himself grappling with the consequences of becoming something more than human. In the midst of the chaos, Commander Cal made her move, lunging at Elias with a cry of rage. Xyla threw herself between them, taking the brunt of the attack. As she fell to the ground, gasping for breath, Elias' power surged once more, unleashing a torrent of energy that engulfed Commander Cal and her soldiers. In the aftermath, as the smoke cleared, Elias found himself standing over the defeated Commander Cal, panting heavily. As Xyla lay at his feet, her eyes closed as she clung to life. He felt a sense of horror wash over him, realizing that he had crossed a line he could not uncross. "I never wanted this," Elias murmured, tears streaming down his face as he knelt beside Xyla. "I only wanted to save humanity." Xyla's eyes fluttered open, revealing a look of understanding. "You were always meant for greatness, Elias," she whispered. "But remember, with great power comes great responsibility." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the ancient academy, Elias stood over Commander Cal's defeated form, his mind racing with questions and doubts. He knew that this was only the beginning of a long and arduous journey, but he also knew that he would not face it alone. The battle against Commander Cal had left its mark on Elias, forever altering his perception of himself and his role in the world. He could feel the weight of his newfound power bearing down upon him, and he knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty. But as the dimly lit corridors of the ancient academy echoed with the whispers of the past, Elias felt a sense of resolve growing within him. Abyssal Ascendancy Elias stood atop the hill, gazing upon the ancient academy. His heart raced with a mixture of fear and determination as he clung to Xyla, who lay lifeless in his arms. The dimly lit corridors of the academy stretched out before him, a labyrinth of secrets waiting to be discovered. In the distance, the enormous stone door etched with intricate carvings stood ominously, beckoning Elias forward. He knew that within lay answers, but also danger. As he looked down at Xyla, tears streamed down his face. "I can't let you die," he whispered, cradling her gently. With a heavy heart, Elias descended the hill and ventured into the academy. The hallowed halls echoed with the whispers of the past, the air thick with ancient magic. As he walked, memories flooded his mind, visions of the academy's former students battling against the undead horde, their faces etched with determination and despair. He passed through a corridor bathed in an eerie light, finding himself before a stone door etched with intricate carvings. He hesitated for a moment, unsure if he should enter, but the weight of Xyla's life hung heavy upon his shoulders. With a deep breath, Elias stepped forward and pushed open the door. Inside, the chamber bathed in an ethereal glow shimmered before him. At its center stood an enormous stone pedestal, upon which rested a glowing artifact, the Heartstone. Elias approached, his heart pounding with anticipation and fear. He reached out, touching the Heartstone, and felt a surge of energy course through his body. The room began to tremble as the power within him surged. The walls crumbled around him, revealing another chamber bathed in an eerie light. Elias' vision blurred as he struggled to maintain control over his newfound power. He knew that this was the source of the Academy's magic, and that saving humanity from the undead horde. As the tremor subsided, Elias found himself in a dimly lit corridor. The walls were adorned with ancient symbols, each one seemingly more ominous than the last. He could feel the power coursing through him, threatening to overwhelm him at any moment. Elias knew that he had to find a way to control this newfound energy or risk losing everything. He continued down the corridor, his senses heightened as he searched for answers. Suddenly, the walls closed in around him, trapping him within a small chamber. The air grew cold and heavy, the shadows lengthening as a figure materialized before him. It was Commander Cal, her face twisted into a cruel sneer. "You've come this far," she taunted, her voice dripping with venom. "But I always knew you would find me." Elias looked down at Xyla, still clutched in his arms. "You won't hurt her," he snarled, his voice shaking with rage and fear. Commander Cal laughed coldly. "I have no intention of harming the girl," she said, her eyes glinting with malice. "In fact, I want to help you control your powers. Together, we can conquer the undead horde." Elias recoiled, feeling a chill run down his spine. He knew Commander Cal would not stop until she controlled him and his power for her own gain. He would never allow that to happen. "Never," he growled, readying himself for battle. As the two clashed, Elias could feel his powers growing, fueled by the Heartstone's energy. Commander Cal fought fiercely, using every trick she had learned in her years of commanding armies against him. But Elias was determined to protect Xyla and the Academy, and he refused to back down. The battle raged on, their attacks growing increasingly powerful. Elias could feel his control slipping as the Heartstone's energy coursed through him, threatening to consume him whole. He knew that if he didn't find a way to master this power, he would be lost forever. As the two combatants traded blows, a figure stepped forward from the shadows. It was Zara, her face hardened with determination. Enough, she roared, her voice echoing through the chamber. This ends now. Zara charged at Commander Cal, her blood-stained sword glinting in the dim light. Elias watched as the two warriors clashed, their blows sending shockwaves throughout the chamber. He knew that this was a battle he could not win alone. With a cry of desperation, Elias focused his thoughts on the Heartstone, channeling its power into Zara. She swung her sword with renewed strength, her attacks growing more powerful with each passing second. Commander Kale stumbled back, her eyes wide with fear as she realized that Elias had given Zara a portion of his newfound powers. Together, they fought against their common enemy, determined to protect the Academy and those within it. As the battle reached its climax, Commander Kale's forces began to retreat, their numbers dwindling as the two warriors pressed their attack. Elias felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him as he watched Commander Kale collapse at Zara's feet, defeated. He looked down at Jyla, who stirred weakly in his arms. With a sigh of relief, Elias held her close, feeling gratitude for the friends he had made within the Academy and the power that now coursed through him. But he knew that this was not the end. The undead horde still threatened humanity, and they would need to find a way to stop it once and for all. As they stood atop the hill, gazing out upon the ancient Academy, Elias felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that he had a responsibility to those who relied on him, and he was determined to fulfill it. Together with Zara and their allies, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead and fight for humanity's survival. But as the sun set over the horizon, casting long shadows across the Academy, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that they were far from safe. The undead horde still lurked in the distance, waiting to strike. And somewhere out there, Commander Kale would surely return, seeking revenge for her defeat. Elias looked down at Jyla, who had regained consciousness and was now staring up at him with fearful eyes. "We must be ready," he whispered, his voice filled with determination. "For we have a war to win." As the shadows lengthened, Elias knew that their journey had only just begun. The ancient Academy would be their sanctuary, but they would need to venture out into the world if they were to truly save humanity from the undead horde. With a heavy heart and newfound resolve, Elias led his allies back into the Academy, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The dimly lit corridors echoed with the weight of ancient secrets as Elias, Zara, and the other students made their way through the hallowed halls of the ancient Academy. The Heartstone pulsated in Elias' chest, its energy a constant reminder of his newfound power and the responsibility he now carried. "We must find the Heartstone chamber," Zara whispered, her eyes scanning the intricate carvings on the stone door ahead. "It is said that within lies the key to unlocking our true potential." Elias hesitated, feeling the weight of Xyla's sacrifice and the enormity of his new power. He knew that with the Heartstone chamber lay a path he could not ignore, but the thought of facing more danger made him uneasy. "I cannot let Commander Kal and her forces continue to threaten us," Elias said, determination hardening his voice. "We must find the chamber." With renewed resolve, they approached the towering stone door etched with intricate carvings. It opened slowly, revealing a dimly lit space beyond. The air was thick with anticipation as they stepped into another chamber bathed in an eerie light. The room was vast and filled with massive pedestals, each adorned with ancient relics. At the center stood a single enormous stone pedestal. Upon it rested the Heartstone, pulsating with an energy that seemed to call out to them. Elias approached cautiously, feeling the power of the Heartstone grow stronger as he drew near. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber, shaking the walls. "You have come far, young one," the voice boomed. "But your journey has only just begun." As Elias looked around, his gaze met Xyla's. Her eyes were open, but her body was lifeless. A wave of despair washed over him as he realized that she had not survived her sacrifice. "Xyla," Elias whispered, tears streaming down his face. "I failed you." Zara stepped forward, placing a comforting hand on Elias' shoulder. "We will honor Xyla's memory by completing our mission," she said sternly. "The Heartstone chamber holds the key to unlocking our true potential. We cannot falter now." With renewed determination, Elias reached out and grasped the Heartstone. A surge of energy coursed through him, filling him with a power he had never felt before. His body began to change, morphing and growing in ways he could not comprehend. As the transformation took hold, Elias knew that the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Meanwhile, Commander Kale stood atop the hill, her eyes fixed on the ancient Academy's hallowed halls. She had been defeated, but she would not let this be the end. Her soldiers gathered around her, preparing for another assault on the Academy. "The Heartstone is ours," Commander Kel growled, a fierce determination in her eyes. "I will not rest until I claim what is rightfully mine." As Elias finished his transformation, He stood before Zara and the other students, feeling stronger than ever before. The power of the Heartstone coursed through him, and he knew that with this newfound strength, they could face any enemy. "We will not let Commander Cal take the Heartstone," Elias declared. "Together, we will save humanity from the undead horde." Our abyssal ascendancy, Elias stood atop the hill, gazing upon the ancient academy that had become their sanctuary amidst chaos. The hallowed halls echoed with whispers of power and secrets hidden within its walls. A sense of unease gnawed at him as he clutched the Heartstone, a powerful artifact that now pulsated with his life force. Zara approached Elias, her eyes gleaming with determination. "We must not let Kale claim what is rightfully ours." Elias nodded, his gaze fixed on the enormous stone door etched with intricate carvings that barred their entry to the Academy's heart. He knew they could not face Commander Kal and her forces unprepared. As night fell, they ventured into the dimly lit corridors of the ancient academy, seeking answers and allies in the hallowed halls. The air grew heavy with tension, each step echoing like drumbeat of impending war. They entered chamber after chamber, some bathed in an eerie light, others dimly lit and foreboding. In one chamber, they found a blood-stained sword, its blade still glistening with residual energy. Elias hesitated, sensing the power coursing through it. Zara encouraged him to wield it, knowing the weapon could tip the balance of their upcoming battle. As they progressed deeper into the academy, they encountered others who had also sought refuge within its walls. Some were scholars like Elias, transformed into powerful beings in search of answers. Others were warriors with mysterious pasts, their eyes reflecting the fire of battle. Zara approached a group of them, her voice booming through the corridor. "We must stand united against Commander Kel's forces. Our sanctuary is under threat." The response was overwhelming, and soon they had gathered an army willing to fight alongside Elias and his companions. Back atop the hill, they strategized for the impending battle. Elias felt a newfound sense of purpose as he gazed upon their growing ranks. He knew that they would have to rely on each other if they hoped to survive what was to come. As the first light of dawn broke, Commander Kal and her forces marched towards the ancient academy. Their numbers were vast, but so too were those who stood ready to defend their home. The air crackled with tension as the two sides faced off, each waiting for the other to make the first move. In the dimly lit corridors of the ancient academy, Elias and Zara stood before a stone door etched with intricate carvings. The air was heavy with tension as they prepared to confront Commander Kal and her soldiers for the final time. "Are you ready?" Elias asked, gripping the blood-stained sword tightly in his hand. Zara nodded, a fierce determination burning in her eyes. "We've come too far to back down now." As they stepped into the corridor beyond, they found themselves surrounded by their allies. Each of them had transformed through the Academy's trials, evolving into powerful beasts that towered over Elias and Zara. They were a formidable force, ready to defend their newfound home and the hope it represented for humanity. "Together," Elias declared, "we will stand against Commander Kal and her forces." A collective roar of agreement erupted from the assembled warriors, their voices echoing through the hallowed halls. The ancient academy's heart pulsated with anticipation as they prepared to face the coming storm. From atop a hill, a massive stone door loomed over the academy. Commander Kal stood before it, her soldiers arrayed in disciplined ranks behind her. With a cold smile on her face, she raised her hand and sent a wave of energy towards them. The ground trembled beneath their feet as the first wave of undead beasts emerged from the portal, snarling and hungry for flesh. Elias and Zara led their allies into the fray, fighting back against the relentless tide of undead horrors. Each blow they struck felt like a lifetime's worth of pain, but they pressed on, driven by a sense of duty and a desire to protect those who had come to rely on them. In the chaos of battle, Elias felt something shift deep within him. The blood-stained sword seemed to hum in his grip, its power coursing through his veins as he unleashed a wave of energy that sent a swarm of undead beasts flying into the air. He could feel the transformation beginning, his body changing and growing in response to the newfound power coursing through him. Commander Kal watched from her vantage point on the hill. Her eyes narrowed as she observed Elias' rapid evolution. "So that's what you intended all along," she muttered, a wicked grin spreading across her face. "You thought to use my own power against me." With a snap of her fingers, Commander Kal sent another wave of energy towards Elias and his allies. The ground beneath them shook violently as they fought to maintain their footing amidst the chaos. In that moment, Elias knew that this battle would be the culmination of all they had endured thus far. He closed his eyes, focusing on the power surging through him. His body began to change, muscles bulking and hardening as his new form took shape. When he opened his eyes, he found himself standing taller than ever before, towering over even Zara and their allies. The bloodstained sword pulsed in his hand, its power now an extension of him. "I am no longer the man you knew," Elias declared, his voice rumbling through the air like thunder. "I am something more." With a battle cry, he charged towards Commander Cal, his allies following close behind. The ancient academy echoed with their roars and the cries of the undead as they clashed in the final battle for humanity's survival. As the sun set over the ancient academy, Elias stood atop a pile of defeated enemies, the blood-stained sword still gripped tightly in his hand. Zara stood beside him, her eyes filled with pride and admiration. The academy's hallowed halls lay silent, the echoes of their battle fading into the night. "We did it," Zara said, a smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "We saved humanity." Elias nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon as he considered the road ahead. "But our work is far from over," he replied quietly. "The apocalypse is not yet ended." Abyssal ascendancy, Elias' heart raced as he stepped through the stone door etched with intricate carvings. The dimly lit chamber beyond revealed a mysterious power that lay dormant within the ancient academy's heartstone, pulsating with an eerie energy. Zara stood by his side, her eyes fixed on the enormous stone pedestal in the center of the room. "This is it," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the echoes of their recent battle. The Heartstone. Elias felt a strange pull towards the pulsating energy emanating from the artifact, but he couldn't shake off the weight of his past and the consequences of his newfound powers. He glanced at Zyla, who seemed lost in thought as she studied the room's carvings. "What do you make of it?" Elias asked, breaking the silence. Zyla closed her eyes for a moment before responding. "This is the heart of the ancient academy. Its power has been hidden away for centuries, waiting for one who could wield its energy. But be warned, the Heartstone comes with great responsibility. And what happens if someone other than me claims it?" Elias asked, his voice barely above a whisper as he looked back at the pulsating artifact. Zyla's expression hardened. "The consequences would be dire. The Heartstone is the key to saving humanity from the undead horde, but also to destroying it if misused. I won't let that happen," Elias vowed, his resolve strengthening with every word. As they approached the pedestal, a sudden rumble echoed through the chamber. The Heartstone's energy intensified, pulsating with an almost palpable force. A dimly lit corridor opened up behind them, revealing another chamber bathed in an eerie light. "We have little time," Zyla said, urging Elias and Zara forward. "The Academy senses that the Heartstone has been disturbed and may soon alert Commander Kale of its location." They moved quickly through the corridors, their hearts pounding with every footstep. As they reached another chamber, a group of soldiers blocked their path. Commander Kale stood at their forefront, her eyes burning with anger. "You thought you could take what is rightfully mine," she snarled, her voice cold and menacing. "I will not allow it." Elias braced himself as Zara stepped forward, her blood-stained sword held high. "We'll fight you here," she growled, her eyes never leaving Commander Kale. The battle that ensued was fierce, their allies joining them in the fight against Commander Kale and her forces. They fought with every ounce of strength they had, knowing the consequences if they were to lose. In the heat of the battle, Elias felt a surge of power coursing through him. He reached out towards the Heartstone, his connection to it growing stronger. As he did so, the energy pulsating from the artifact intensified, illuminating the chamber in an ethereal glow. Suddenly, Commander Kell lunged at Elias, her energy attacks, striking him with full force. He gritted his teeth as she hit him, but he didn't falter. He focused on the Heartstone, feeling its power coursing through him, amplifying his own. With a burst of strength, he retaliated, unleashing a wave of energy that sent Commander Kal flying back into the dimly lit corridor. The battle raged on around them, but Elias knew they had turned the tide. They defeated Commander Kal and her soldiers, leaving them to retreat as they stood victorious atop a pile of defeated enemies. "We did it," Zara panted, looking at Elias with newfound admiration in her eyes. "But we cannot rest yet." Elias nodded, his gaze fixed on the Heartstone. He could feel its power coursing through him now, stronger than ever before. He knew that the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, and they had a long journey ahead to ensure their survival. But he also knew that with the Heartstone's power at his command, they stood a chance against the undead horde. With Commander Cal defeated, the remaining survivors gathered around the newly discovered Heartstone, bathed in an eerie glow. Elias, Zara, and Zyla shared a brief moment of respite before their attention turned to the stone door etched with intricate carvings that stood between them and the next chamber. "We must proceed," Zyla said, her voice heavy with urgency. "The Heartstone has awakened something within Elias, but we cannot linger here for long." Elias nodded, his newfound power coursing through him as he prepared to face whatever lay beyond the door. Zara stood tall beside him, determination etched into every line of her face. while Zyla's eyes seemed to glow with a strange light. As they approached the door, it swung open, revealing a dimly lit corridor that stretched out before them. "We will find the answers we seek within," Zyla said, leading the way down the corridor. "But beware, for danger lurks around every corner." The group moved cautiously through the ancient academy's hallowed halls, their footsteps echoing off the stone walls as they ventured deeper into the unknown. The air grew colder, and a sense of foreboding hung over them like a shroud. "What lies ahead?" Elias asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "What is the purpose of this ancient academy, and why were we brought here?" Zyla paused for a moment, her gaze fixed on the dimly lit corridor before them. "The academy was built to train warriors like yourself," she replied. "Warriors destined to become powerful beasts capable of battling the undead horde that now threatens humanity's existence." Elias stared at Shyla, his mind racing with questions and doubts. He had always felt different, isolated from those around him, but he never imagined the truth was so fantastical. "I don't know if I am ready for this," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "To become something other than human. It's too much to ask." Zara placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder, her eyes filled with understanding. "We all have our doubts and fears," she said softly. "But we cannot turn back now. We must face this together, for the sake of humanity." With renewed determination, Elias followed Exila down the corridor, their path illuminated by flickering torches mounted on the stone walls. As they moved deeper into the academy, they encountered chamber after chamber bathed in an eerie light, each one more mysterious and strange than the last. In one chamber, they discovered a blood-stained sword lying atop an enormous stone pedestal, its blade glowing with a sinister energy. In another, they stumbled upon a dimly lit space filled with ancient scrolls detailing the transformation process that would forever alter their lives. As they ventured deeper into the academy, Elias could feel the weight of his new powers growing heavier and heavier within him. He knew he would have to confront these changes head-on if he hoped to survive this journey and save humanity from the undead horde. Finally, they reached a chamber bathed in an ethereal glow, its walls adorned with intricate carvings depicting scenes of battle and transformation. At the center of the chamber stood another towering stone pedestal, upon which lay the Heartstone. Elias approached the pedestal slowly, his heart pounding in his chest as he reached out to touch the Heartstone. As his fingers brushed against its surface, a surge of power coursed through him, filling him with a sense of purpose and resolve. "It's time," Zyla said, her voice barely more than a whisper. "We must embrace our new forms and prepare for the challenges ahead." Elias nodded, his eyes fixed on the Heartstone as it pulsated with an energy that seemed to resonate within him. He knew this moment would change everything, and he was both terrified and exhilarated by the prospect of what lay before him. As they stood before the Heartstone, a sense of peace washed over them, and Elias felt a sudden clarity in his mind. He understood now that he had been chosen for a reason, and it was up to him to fulfill his destiny as a warrior of the ancient academy. With Exila and Zara by his side, Elias closed his eyes and allowed the power of the Heartstone to flow through him, transforming him into something greater than he had ever been before. As the transformation completed, he opened his eyes, gazing down at his new form in awe. He knew now that he was destined for greatness, and with the power of the Heartstone at his command, he would do whatever it took to save humanity from the undead horde. The battle had only just begun, but Elias was ready to face whatever came next. As the sun set on their journey through the ancient academy, Elias, Zara, and Exila stood together on the top of a hill, gazing out over the landscape below. They knew that the road ahead would be long and treacherous, but they were prepared to face whatever challenges lay before them. With the Heartstone's power at their command, they would become the warriors humanity needed to survive in this world of undead horrors. And together, they would fight for a future where hope still shone brightly amidst the darkness. But as they looked out over the horizon, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that danger lurked just beyond their reach, waiting to strike when they least expected it. He knew that the true test of their strength and courage would come not in the battles they fought, but in the choices they made along the way. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the ancient academy's hallowed halls, Elias steeled himself for the challenges ahead. He knew that the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, and he would not fail them. With a renewed determination in his heart, Elias turned to Zara and Exila, ready to face whatever lay before him. Together, they would fight for a future where hope still shone brightly amidst the darkness. Abyssal ascendancy in the dimly lit chamber, Elias trembled as his body morphed under the ethereal glow of the Heartstone. The transformation was unlike anything he'd ever experienced, but this time was different. He felt an inexplicable connection to something greater than himself. Zara stood by his side, her eyes fixed on him, her heart pounding with anticipation. Elias, she whispered, you are the key. The pulsating light from the Heartstone intensified as Elias' body convulsed violently. His senses heightened, and he felt a surge of power coursing through his veins like lightning. He could feel the potential to become something more than human, something capable of standing against the undead horde. Suddenly, the ground shook as Commander Kell burst into the chamber, her soldiers hot on her heels. They were better equipped and more experienced than Elias and his allies, but they were no match for a warrior touched by the power of the Heartstone. Surrender your newfound power, Commander Kell demanded, brandishing a blood-stained sword. It belongs to me. Zara stepped forward, blocking their path with an air of defiance. You'll have to go through us first. The battle was fierce, but Elias knew that he had been chosen for a greater purpose than to simply defend the academy. He would be humanity's last hope against the undead horde. As his transformation reached its climax, he felt an overwhelming sense of determination and courage well up inside him. With a roar that echoed throughout the ancient halls, Elias transformed into a powerful beast towering above Commander Kell and her soldiers. They recoiled in fear as they faced the embodiment of the Heartstone's power. What have you done? Commander Kell cried out. You've destroyed everything. Elias stood tall, his eyes blazing with determination. I am no longer the man you knew. I am a warrior destined to save humanity. The battle raged on, but as the dust settled, it was clear that Elias had emerged victorious. Commander Kell lay defeated at his feet, her dreams of controlling the Heartstone shattered. In the aftermath, Zara approached Elias, her eyes filled with admiration and respect. You were right, she whispered. You are the key. Elias looked down on the defeated soldiers, knowing that their battle was far from over. The undead horde still lurked just beyond their reach, waiting to strike. But with his newfound power, he knew they could stand against them, they could save humanity. We must prepare, Elias declared. The true test lies ahead. Together they would face the challenges that lay before them and fight for the future of humanity. The ancient academy had given them a chance to survive, but now it was up to them to seize their destiny. The dimly lit chamber echoed with the heavy breathing of exhausted soldiers as they huddled together, their eyes fixed on the stone door etched with intricate carvings. The ancient academy had revealed many secrets to them since Elias' transformation, but none as profound as the Heartstone's power. Prepare yourselves, Elias called out, his voice echoing off the stone walls. The academy is not finished with us yet. Zara stepped forward, her eyes blazing with determination. We will face whatever comes our way, Commander Elias. We will survive. Elias looked at Zara, a hint of a smile on his lips. I never asked to be your commander, Zara. I am just a man trying to find a way out of this nightmare. He turned back towards the door. But if we're going to have any hope of defeating Commander Cal and her forces, we must stand united. The door creaked open, revealing another chamber bathed in an eerie light. They stepped cautiously inside, their weapons at the ready as they scanned the room for any signs of danger. The chamber was filled with enormous stone pedestals, each bearing a different relic or artifact. In the center stood the Heartstone, its pulsating glow casting long shadows across the room. We must find a way to harness the power within the Heartstone, Elias said, his voice barely above a whisper as he approached the stone. It's our only hope against Commander Cal and her forces. As they searched for clues, they were interrupted by the sound of footsteps echoing through the dimly lit corridors. A group of soldiers burst into the chamber, their weapons raised. Elias tensed, his eyes narrowing as he assessed the threat. They were vastly outnumbered, but he would not go down without a fight. Zara stepped in front of him, her body trembling with fury. You dare trespass on sacred ground? She raised her sword, the blade glinting dangerously in the ethereal light. This chamber is ours. You'll have to kill us to take it. Commander Cal stepped forward, a cold smile spreading across her face. I've waited long enough for this moment, she said, her voice dripping with malice. The Heartstone was never meant for you to control, Elias. It belongs to me. Elias braced himself, his eyes locked onto Commander Cal's. You will not take what is rightfully ours, he growled, his newfound powers surging through him. In a flash of light, Elias transformed, his body stretching and twisting as he morphed into a powerful beast, unlike any they had ever seen before. The soldiers cried out in terror as they backed away, their weapons useless against the monstrous creature that stood before them. Commander Cal's eyes widened in shock as she realized the true power of the Heartstone. You are mine, she hissed, her voice trembling with rage. I will not let you take what is rightfully mine. Elias bared his teeth, a low growl rumbling from deep within his chest as he prepared to face Commander Cal and her soldiers in the battle for the Heartstone and humanity's future. As they charged towards each other, Elias knew that this fight would not be easy, but he was determined to protect what was rightfully theirs. The ancient academy had revealed many secrets since he first touched the Heartstone, but none as profound as the power within him. He would use it to save humanity from the Undhorde and defeat Commander Kell once and for all. The battle raged on, with both sides fighting for control of the Heartstone and the future of humanity. As they fought, Elias could feel his new powers growing stronger, a wave of energy coursing through him. As he harnessed the full potential of the Heartstone's power, he knew that this was only the beginning, that there was still much more to learn about his new form and abilities. But for now, all he could focus on was defeating Commander Cal and her soldiers and protecting what was rightfully theirs. The battle was fierce, with both sides pushing each other to their limits as they clashed in the dimly lit chamber. Elias' powers continued to grow stronger, his body transforming further with each passing moment as he fought for control of the Heartstone. Commander Cal, however, seemed undeterred, her determination fueled by her desire to claim the Heartstone and its power for herself. Zara fought valiantly alongside Elias, her sword flashing through the air as she struck down soldiers left and right. But even with their combined efforts, they struggled against Commander Cal's seemingly endless forces. It seemed that no matter how many they defeated, more poured forward from the dimly lit corridors to take their place. As the battle raged on, Elias could feel his body growing weaker. His powers were straining under the pressure, and he knew that if he didn't find a way to regain control soon, he would be lost to the undead horde. He turned to Zara, his eyes pleading as he spoke. "We must retreat," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We cannot hold out much longer." Zara nodded, her own exhaustion evident in every movement. Together, they fought their way back through the dimly lit corridors, their allies and enemies hot on their heels. As they reached the top of the hill, Elias felt a surge of energy coursing through him as the Heartstone's power seemed to call out to him. He turned to Zara, his eyes alight with determination. "We will return," he said, his voice filled with conviction. "I promise you, we will defeat Commander Cal and her forces." Zara nodded, a small smile on her lips as she looked at the enormous stone door that barred their path. "I have faith in you, Elias," she said. "Together, we will save humanity." With renewed determination, they stepped through the ancient academy's hallowed halls, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead as they continued their journey towards victory. The battle against Commander Cal and her forces would not be easy, but Elias knew that with Zara by his side, they could overcome anything. The end of the battle was not yet in sight, but Elias was determined to see it through to the end. He would use every ounce of strength he had to save humanity from the undead horde and defeat Commander Cal once and for all. As they disappeared into the darkness, their fate unknown, Elias felt a sense of peace wash over him. Abyssal ascendancy in the dimly lit chamber, Elias stood atop the enormous stone pedestal, his newfound power coursing through him as he gazed upon the Heartstone, an ancient artifact that held the key to humanity's survival. His transformation had been a testament to the Academy's hidden curriculum, allowing him and others like him to evolve into powerful beasts capable of facing the undead horde. Zara, her eyes glinting with determination, approached Elias. Her own transformations had been more gradual but no less impressive, each change pushing her closer to becoming the ultimate beast. Together, they stood as a formidable force against Commander Cal's relentless assault. As the stone door behind them creaked open, a chilling wind swept through the chamber, carrying with it the scent of blood and the sound of footsteps echoing down the dimly lit corridor. Commander Cal and her soldiers had arrived to claim what they believed was rightfully theirs, the Heartstone and the power that lay within. Elias, Commander Cal sneered as she strode into the chamber, a blood-stained sword held firmly in her hand. "You have grown strong since our last encounter, but you are still no match for me." Her eyes narrowed, betrayal and greed shining in their depths. Elias' heart pounded with anger as he prepared to defend his newfound home and allies from the ruthless military leader who sought to control him for her own gain. He could sense that Jyla was nearby, watching from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to intervene. The battle commenced, a whirlwind of clashing steel and roars echoing through the ancient academy's hallowed halls. Elias transformed again, his body growing larger and more powerful as he fought with every ounce of strength he possessed. Zara, too, demonstrated her prowess, striking down Commander Cal's soldiers with precision and ferocity. But Commander Cal was relentless, her obsession driving her to continue the fight even when it seemed impossible. As the battle raged on, Elias could feel the weight of his past bearing down upon him, threatening to crush him beneath its burden. He knew that he had to make a choice, give in to the darkness that threatened to consume him or stand firm and face the true enemy, the apocalypse itself. In the end, it was Jyla who came to Elias' aid, revealing the truth about the apocalypse and the role he must play in ending it. With newfound resolve, Elias faced Commander Kell one last time, determined to save humanity from certain doom. As the dust settled, only one remained standing, Elias, the man reborn as an insect who would become a beacon of hope for the surviving remnants of humanity. The ancient academy, its hallowed halls bathed in eerie light, stood silent and empty. The battle was over, but the war was far from won. Elias knew that the journey ahead would be long and treacherous, but he also knew that he had the power to save humanity from the undead horde. With Xyla by his side, he vowed to face whatever challenges lay ahead and bring hope to those who still clung to life. The ancient academy's hallowed halls echoed with the faintest whisper of footsteps as Elias and Zara cautiously stepped into the dimly lit corridor beyond. The Heartstone's power surged within them both, their transformations pushing them closer to their ultimate forms. Behind them, they left a trail of defeated soldiers who dared challenge them in this sacred place. Elias could feel the weight of his past heavy upon him as he gazed at the enormous stone door etched with intricate carvings. The Heartstone pulsated beneath their feet, its energy coursing through their veins and fueling their newfound powers. He knew that within this chamber lay the key to saving humanity from the undead horde, ending Commander Kell's reign of terror once and for all. Zara stood beside him, her eyes filled with determination. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice steady and strong. Elias nodded, his gaze never leaving the towering stone door. "I have no choice," he replied, a hint of sadness in his voice. He knew that the road ahead would be treacherous, but he also felt a newfound sense of purpose. The Heartstone had chosen him for a reason, and he would not let it down. Together, they approached the stone door, their hearts pounding with anticipation and fear. As they crossed the threshold, the chamber bathed in an ethereal glow, revealing its true beauty. The walls were adorned with intricate carvings depicting scenes of transformation and power, and a single enormous stone pedestal stood at its center. Upon reaching the pedestal, Elias gazed upon the Heartstone that lay there, pulsating with an energy that made him weak at the knees. He felt the power coursing through him like a tidal wave, threatening to consume him whole. With trembling hands, he reached out and took hold of the Heartstone, feeling it pulse beneath his fingertips. Suddenly, the chamber was filled with an eerie silence. The air grew thick and oppressive, as if something dark lurked in the shadows. Elias glanced around nervously, but there was no sign of movement. He focused on the Heartstone once more, feeling its power growing stronger within him. In that moment, he heard a voice echo through the chamber. "You have come far, young one," it whispered, causing his heart to race with fear and excitement. "But your journey has only just begun." Elias turned to find Xyla standing before them, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "You've been expecting me?" he asked, his voice trembling. She nodded, a mysterious smile playing upon her lips. "I have watched you grow stronger, Elias," she said, her voice soft yet commanding. "It is time for you to face your destiny." Elias stared at her in disbelief. He had heard whispers of Xyla throughout his journey, but he had never thought to meet her in person. "My destiny?" he asked, feeling a sense of dread creeping over him. "What do you mean?" Xyla stepped closer to him, her eyes filled with a fire that seemed almost otherworldly. "The Heartstone chose you for a reason," she said, her voice growing more intense. "It has seen the darkness that threatens this world, and it knows that only someone like you can save it." Elias' mind raced as he tried to comprehend Xyla's words. He had always known that the Heartstone held great power, but he never imagined that it would choose him to wield it. I don't know if I'm ready for this," he stammered, feeling the weight of his newfound responsibility bearing down on him. Xyla placed a comforting hand upon his shoulder. "You may not be ready," she said, her voice soothing, "but you are strong, and with time, you will learn to control the power within you." As they spoke, Commander Kell's voice echoed through the chamber, causing Elias' heart to race. "I see you have found the Heartstone," she snarled. "Hand it over, and I promise you a place at my side." Elias turned to face her, his eyes filled with defiance. "Never," he shouted, feeling the power of the Heartstone surging through him like a tidal wave. "You will not take what is rightfully mine." Commander Kell's soldiers charged into the chamber, their weapons raised high. But Elias and Zara stood their ground, ready to defend their newfound home and allies from her forces. The battle that ensued was fierce and brutal, but in the end, they emerged victorious. Commander Kell lay on the ground, defeated, as Elias stared down at her with a sense of triumph and sadness. As they stood over her defeated enemy, Xyla approached them once more. "You have done well," she said, her voice filled with pride. "But your journey is far from over." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of his newfound power bearing down on him. He knew that the road ahead would be treacherous, but he was ready to face whatever challenges lay before him. With Zara by his side and Xyla as his guide, he felt a sense of hope growing within him. Together, they would save humanity from the undead horde and bring light back to a world teetering on destruction. As they stepped out onto the hill, the sun rose, casting light upon the entrance to their new world. A single beam of sunlight illuminated the enormous stone door etched with intricate carvings, signifying their journey ahead. Elias took a deep breath, feeling the power of the Heartstone coursing through him like a tidal wave. "Let's go," he said, his voice filled with determination. "We have a world to save." And Abyssal Ascendancy in the dimly lit chamber, Elias stood over the defeated form of Commander Kal, her blood-stained sword cluttered beside her. Zara's breath came in ragged gasps as she leaned against a stone column, supporting herself with a grunt. The ethereal glow emanating from the Heartstone illuminated their faces, revealing a mix of exhaustion and determination etched deep within their eyes. Exila emerged from the shadows, her form seeming to shift subtly as she approached them. "The battle is won, but the war is far from over," she said, her voice echoing off the ancient stone walls. "We must ascend the hill and confront the source of this darkness once and for all." Zara looked up, meeting Exila's gaze. "I will stand with you," she declared, her voice steady despite her wariness. Elias hesitated, his mind racing with thoughts and questions. He glanced at Commander Kell one last time before turning to face Xyla. "Take me there," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. As they left the chamber, their footsteps echoing through the dimly lit corridors of the ancient academy, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of his journey. Little did he know just how much more lay ahead. In the dimly lit chamber, Elias and Zara stood before the ancient Heartstone, their blood-stained swords gripped tightly in their hands. Sila's voice echoed through the ethereal glow that bathed the room, revealing the true nature of the academy they called home. "The academy has been here since the beginning," she said, her voice resonating with an air of wisdom and sadness. "It was designed to prepare those who would stand against the darkness. You are not alone in your struggle, Elias." As Zara gazed at the glowing stone, she felt a sudden surge of energy coursing through her veins. "I've been waiting for this moment," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of power that filled the room. "This is our destiny." Elias, however, stood frozen with uncertainty. He looked at Zara, then at Xyla, and finally to the Heartstone before him. The weight of his newfound powers weighed heavily on him, and the memories of his past life as a scholar threatened to consume him. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook violently, and the ancient academy's hallowed halls echoed with the sound of marching footsteps. Commander Kale stood before them, her army at her back, ready for battle. With a cruel smile, she extended her hand towards Elias. "You are mine now," she hissed. "The power you wield is too great to be left unchecked." Elias hesitated, torn between his duty to humanity and the allure of the power Commander Kale offered. Zara, sensing the internal struggle, stepped forward, her eyes blazing with determination. "I will not let her take him," she declared, her voice steadfast and resolute. "He is our hope for the future." In that moment, Elias made his choice. He closed his eyes, and a surge of energy erupted from within him. His body began to change, morphing into a being far greater than before, a creature of legend, born from the Heartstone itself. As he emerged from his transformation, the chamber filled with an otherworldly light that illuminated the Academy's hallowed halls. Commander Cal recoiled in horror, her grip on power slipping away. With a battle cry, Elias and Zara charged into the fray, ready to defend their newfound home and allies against the forces of darkness. Their fight was long and brutal, but ultimately they stood victorious. Commander Cal lay defeated at their feet, her ambition crushed beneath the weight of their combined power. As the dust settled, Elias looked down at her, a sense of sorrow washing over him. He knew that he could have saved her, if only she had chosen differently. With Commander Cal's defeat, the Academy stood stronger than ever before. The students and faculty rejoiced in their victory, and Elias finally felt at peace with his newfound powers. He knew that there would be more battles to come, but he was ready for himself, for Zara, and for humanity. As they looked out over the academy, Exila's voice once again echoed through the dimly lit corridors. "You have proven your worth, Elias," she said softly, "but the true battle is still to come." Elias nodded, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He turned to Zara, his eyes filled with gratitude and love. "We will save humanity together," he said, his voice steady and strong.